Ghana's 1992 constitution promotes equality and non-discrimination. Yet, women representation in politics and decision-making remain low. In the mid-2000s, the Affirmative Action Bill was initiated to promote gender equality and fair representation in decision-making institutions. This bill has faced many delays and challenges, but yesterday, in a historic moment, Parliament, led by Speaker Alban Bagbin, passed the Affirmative Action Bill. And now, what remains is for the President to assent this and turn it into law. That's a discussion we have coming your way this morning, and I'm particularly intrigued about it. Why? Because I'm a woman, and I care about that. But, of course, on this morning's show, the AM show, we'll start with the news, served by Inusah Fuseini. And then Dr. Kwame Asante, head at the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, will join us to review the news stories captured in the newspapers. And then Haruna Mumbarak will serve you AM Sports. And after that, we get into our big stories. We'll start with the NDC, who are prepared to go the long haul with the Attorney General, who they accuse of treachery, as he vows a prompt response at the Supreme Court upon the acquittal and discharge of Atofosson and Richard Jakpa at the Appeals Court. We will examine the ruling and the matters arising. And where does this appeal court ruling leave us? And then, of course, we'll bring you that conversation on the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act 2024, now in force after years of delays and challenges. Welcome aboard the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akapo. Join us with your comments and your thoughts, either via phone or across all social media handles at Joy News on TV. Stay with us from now to 10 a.m. We are serving you cocktail and breakfast.
Now, herbal medicine practitioner Dr. Inusah Fuseini is alarmed at the heavy metal concentrates found in herbs sourced from mining areas. Now, already, some herbs and plants used as medicines are going extinct due to deforestation, mainly caused by illegal miners. Now, Dr. Fuseini has observed growth in the herbal industry may slow down if the phenomenon persists. Nanaya Ojima has more.
The World Health Organization estimates about 80% of people in the developing world depend on traditional medicine to meet their primary healthcare needs, further projecting the global market for herbal products will be worth $5 trillion by the year 2050. In Ghana, it is estimated 951 tons of crude herbal medicines were sold at Ghana's herbal markets in 2010, with a total value of around $7.8 million. From the statistics, the relevance of herbal medicine remains enormous, but the surge in illegal mining has caused deforestation, leading to decreasing raw materials for industry players. The chief executive of Urbanage Herbal Production, Dr. Inusah Fuseini, reveals traces of heavy metals are being realized in high quantities in some herbs.
These are contaminants that are so toxic to the vital organs like kidney, liver, and all that. The plant may be effective. They may be very good for consumption and healing. But due to the accumulation of these toxic substances like cyanide and lead and mercury, they will not be safe for consumption.
As the country continues to lose forest cover to illegal mining, herbal medicine practitioners are being encouraged to consider cultivation of medicinal plants. Dr. Fuseini wants the government to step up efforts to halt illegal mining.
So we need to get some measures put in place now, else the future will not be so bright for the nation.
Professor Isaac Kingsley Amponsa is head of department at the Herbal Medicine Department of KNUST.
We have people who do not know anything about phytotherapy. We have people who do not even know how to write plant names, not alone to even pronounce them. But they are making it so big in this industry called herbal medicine.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Now, women and young entrepreneurs who are into agribusiness are heaving a sigh of relief following support they received from the Absa Bank Africa Works project, which has impacted their project positively. Now, according to the head of agribusiness at Absa Bank, William Nate, the 5-year project is intended to lend financial support to about 5,000 businesses and create 50,000 jobs. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports for more.
One of the stumbling blocks to women and young people who want to go into businesses is their inability to get financial support to execute their lifelong dreams. Due to these financial challenges, their dream of pursuing further in their businesses are often truncated. Based on the aforementioned, the Absa Young Africa Works project was started 4 years ago with the aim of supporting agribusinesses with special preference for women-led businesses and young entrepreneurs. In collaboration with MasterCard Foundation, they help women and young entrepreneurs to have access to loan facilities payable at a 10% rate. William Nate is the head of agribusiness at Absa Bank, and he threw further light on the project.
What we realized was that businesses in these areas were struggling because of high interest rates and the lack of collateral to be able to access financing. So we got into this partnership, talked with our partner MasterCard Foundation, and then co-created a product that would work for women and for agribusinesses. What we came up with was to lend to about 5,000 businesses over the 5-year period of the project, create 50,000 jobs, work with smallholders. That would increase lending into the very last mile. When we say last mile, we mean the people on the ground doing the farming at the very rural areas. So the actors that we looked at in the value chain was right from the beginning, which include the input dealers, the farmers themselves. We looked at aggregators. We looked at processors who are working locally to be able to grow this business.
Apart from the credit facility, they are also giving training on the field where they are taught by consultants on best agronomic practices to enable them have good yields and also increase their production. In the Upper West region, they have about 10 partners they have engaged and supporting. One of them is Yoruba-based Chief Executive Officer of EA Farms, Emmanuel Awa. He spoke about the impact the Absa Young Africa Works project has made in his business.
I mean, the stress we used to go through in paying farmers timely has gone down. Now farmers get their payment very early. We also, as a business, you know, that confidence in the sorghum value chain where farmers were scared that, oh, sorghum, we can't pay, delays in payment and what have you. I mean, that confidence in the sorghum value chain has been built as a result of this Absa Young Africa project. And I will also say that looking at sorghum production today, the demand has increased.
Another is the Chief Executive Officer of our Fields Limited, Joy Okra. She is into crop production, input sale and supply, mechanization services and sales. She too has a positive story about the support that she got from the project. So
before Absa came in, we had lots of we have outgrowers that we support, as well as our own nucleus farming, crop production and other activities, but we couldn't support all the farmers that came in to ask for assistance, especially the women and the youth. But with the support from Absa and Young Africa Works, we've now been able to increase the number of women and the outgrowers as well as ingrowers that we are working with.
It is not only the chief executives at the top that are the cash windfall. The farmers at the last end of the value chain also had a bite of the pie as they spoke about how the project is making waves in their lives. It used to be difficult for us to cook or get money for our children to go to school. The project has come to save us.
So we have been getting seeds, especially hybrid seeds, that we get a higher yield from that. And then with fertilizer, the fertilizer, before that, we used not to get them in time, and it was affecting the production of the sorghum. But with their support, we get them at the right time and applied.
After a tour of some of the farms and warehouses of the partners and the farmers, the optics look good for the project.
The confidence with which they are able to come out and to express what they are doing, they are seeing changes in their lives. The lives of their families are being changed. As someone said, she goes out there, she's been able to get financing, and then they are able to get fuel to power their motor to take their children to school. We are seeing real impact on the ground, and I think that this is a good project and it should be sustained going forward.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
And back here in Accra, Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, James Kluche-Aveji, has expressed anger over the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Police Service's failure to retrieve 1.3 million cedis worth of missing condoms and birth control shots. Now, these items, according to the Auditor General's report, vanished into thin air while on transit from the temporary Central Medical Stores requisition in Tema to the regional medical stores in the Eastern region in August 2022. Now, James Aveji has a wrap in the following report.
Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee on Tuesday were the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service and its agencies and departments. Chairman of the committee, James Kluche-Aveji, commenced proceedings with inquiry into the controversial disappearance of 1.3 million cedis worth of condoms on transit as captured by the Auditor General.
20,000 packs made up of 2,880,000 pieces of male condoms. And 120,000 vials of Depo-Provera, that's birth control shots, valued at 1.336 million.
Director of Policy Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation at the Health Ministry, Emma Jimang, said 2 years old, the vehicle and the items cannot be found.
The driver immediately thereafter had a stroke, was very ill, but has also retired.
What reason did he give?
Chair, please, I cannot recollect the reasons right now, but the matter was they just couldn't, the items could not be found, and he hadn't also paid as at then.
The chairman was unhappy about the ministry and the Ghana Police Service's inability to investigate and prosecute the matter to retrieve the money.
When you reported the case, was the driver arrested?
Yes, he was.
And then he was bailed? And
some other, persons,
Who are the people who bailed him? People who bail him must be made to produce him or pay the money. In fact,
the docket is at the ages, so we are just waiting for a logical conclusion before we are able to speak to the
docket at the AG. What is the docket going to do at AG?
Sir, please.
What advice?
Yeah, for advice, probably.
In another case involving the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the committee set charge Director of Human Resource, Jehuza Jaula, for validating 4 dead persons for close to 4 years, amounting to over 270,000 Ghana cedis.
The person died, and he continued to receive salary for 43 months, 44 months. No, it's not acceptable. If your unit is really working well, you should detect this long time. So it's a negligence on the part of the HR director. This committee is recommending that the balance 152,000 be recovered from the HR director and those people who validate these people jointly the HR director, I'm sure these 4 people were not from the same department. So the heads of those departments, together with the HR director, jointly pay this amount, and you follow up and recover the money from them. And we give them 2 months to recover the money.
The committee said it will consider a summary advice against granting of steady leave with pay, considering the rate at which most of the health workers refuse to return after studies. The committee resumed sitting on Wednesday. James Habaji, Parliament House, Accra.
Now, a driver and 2 passengers narrowly escaped death on the motorway after losing a tire upon hitting a pothole. Now, this incident occurred just 48 hours after Joy News highlighted the dire situation on the expressway. Now, in response, contractors have started rehabilitation works to improve driving conditions. Michael Ashale revisited the motorway and reports.
We are back on the Accra-Tema motorway, which for months has been riddled with potholes, making a driving experience very unpleasant for motorists. Some of these potholes were just patched months ago, but the rainy season has washed most of it away. Moments ago, a driver lost a tire here. For him, being a reverend father, he's grateful to God he didn't lose his life after losing control of the vehicle.
When we were coming, we just surprised, we ran into a pothole, a very big one, and then we burst our tire.
Tell me, you were surprised by that particular pothole?
Very surprised.
You never used the motorway?
No, I've been using the motorway, but this one, it was a surprise. I didn't know what happened because it's too big. You see, the motorway is a way that everybody is passing through. So we have to make sure that all these potholes are being filled. Because look at this, the tire, you have to replace it before we can go wherever we are going. Because of this pothole, you understand? So I think it is very bad. I'm very surprised. Very surprised that I was able to.
Thankfully, barely 24 hours after airing the story on the deplorable state of the motorway, the contractors, Maripoma Enterprise Limited, are back. This same company has been awarded a contract to expand the Accra-Tema motorway. In the interim, they say they are rehabilitating the road to make it motorable while they wait for the rainy season to subside before they can begin proper reconstruction of the Accra-Tema motorway. For drivers and pedestrians, they are urging government and the contractors to speed up the work on the rehabilitation and the reconstruction so that incidents like what happened moments ago will not happen again. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
The Ochihene, Osajefo Amwetio Foripinyi, has described a document in circulation covered with his image under the caption Ejapade as a total fiction fabricated by those determined for years to create and fund a hate campaign against the Oforipinyi household in Ochiman. The book, whose content suggests a detailed strategy aimed at positioning and maintaining Achim people at commanding height in all spheres of the Ghanaian economy, has popped up again, gaining prominence in the media space. Maxwell Kudeko has more in the following report.
In the year 2016, about a few months to the election, the same document known as the Achim Project was in circulation. The focus of that was to fund hatred between Ochiman and Asanteman to undermine the electoral fortunes of Nana Akufo-Addo. This diabolic plan was revised in 2019. In the year 2021, the Japa business became a political issue. The book suddenly metamorphosed into a Japadier, Ochihene noted. At the Achima-Buakwa State Council meeting held over the weekend, Ochihene called on his kinsmen and Ghanaians to treat the book with the contempt it deserves.
All this together in them. Yeah. Any Ghana, Waka. Yeah. In them. Yeah. Any yeah. Yes, I say. Yeah. Yeah. But two of them in out here. Yeah. What guy? Yeah. Two of them in out here. Yeah. What challenge? Yeah.
According to Osaji Fuamoti of Repeni, many kingdoms in Ghana have seen greater development over the years than Achimabwakwa State.
Yeah. Yes, so how we know? Yeah. Any person of Pata? Yeah. Any Aaron? Yeah. People who was in? Yeah. Any you are the way. Yeah. Everything is another buyer. Yeah. And also. Yeah. Apa sama mai? Yeah. And when you? Yeah. And when you I say, "Oh, you don't buy it." Yeah. 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 And she put it in the yeah. That's what I said to me. You was just on him, hello. And I said, oh, he is good. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Every other all kind of one there, Papa. Yeah.
He emphasized that these are schemes to sow seed of hatred for the Achim people. He called on all Achim citizens to stand for the truth and speak against this diabolic move by unscrupulous people to create hatred for the Achim people.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say, there's a problem here. Yeah. Yeah. What is the big here? Yeah. And yeah. And yeah. 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 Now, I listen to Sokoima. Yeah. No, no, yeah. 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 So this is a yeah. It's the former of the Kaka. Yeah, I graduate. Just former oil. Yeah, I graduate. Yeah.
Maxwell Kudeka report for Joy News.
Oh well, it's now time for business updates with Sweetie Abochi.
Yes, Denise, thank you. And in our business stories this morning, the Bank of Ghana has rolled out a new centralized platform for Forex Bureau operators in the country from August 1st. This was contained in a new circular issued by the central bank yesterday. There's more in this report.
The Bank of Ghana in the statement maintained that the move was to ensure the integrity and development of the financial system. Based on this directive, all licensed Forex Exchange Bureau will be required to use this platform for the buying and selling of foreign currencies. The central bank adds that trading of foreign currencies will be done by only firms that has been licensed by the regulator. It also reminds industry players that all foreign exchange bureaus transactions shall be conducted on this new trading platform. Foreign exchange bureaus are required to issue electronic receipt to customers for all purchases and sales of foreign currencies. The Bank of Ghana added that the platform has been integrated with the National Identification System to ensure all purchases and sales of foreign currencies are performed by verified individuals. The regulator adds that the initiative marks a milestone in the bank's efforts to ensure safe and sound operations of the foreign exchange business. Platform will also improve oversight for directors and management of bureaus and enhance the bank's monitoring and supervision of their operations in compliance with Foreign Exchange Anti-Money Laundering Act.
ARB Apex Bank says it is not fully satisfied with the release of some 1.5 billion cedis by the government to pay customers affected by the banking sector cleanup exercise. President Akufo-Addo in June 2024 tasked the Finance Ministry to affect the disbursement of the funds to ease financial burden on the aggrieved customers. Board chair of the ARB Apex Bank, Dr. Anthony Obin, says the amounts released is inadequate as these unpaid funds continue to be a bane to the operations of the banks. He was speaking at the 22nd annual general meeting of the bank in Kumasi.
The locked up funds, just as the monies that have been affected by the DDP, are funds owned by our customers. So it's worrying. It affected the profitability of some of the banks. We are excited to hear, even though not fully excited. We were happy to hear that government has now released the 1.5 billion cedis to pay part of the locked up funds. It is not enough. So as I speak with you, the rural banks have about 350 million cedis in locked up funds. This is huge, for rural banks. Some of them, if you look at their profit, they are making 1 million profit, 2-3 million profit and all that. Not huge profit. So if you have this big amount locked up, do you know how much that locked up funds could be used to generate further resources for the banks? So we still continue to appeal to government to understand that the rural banks, we really impact on the real economy. There are some banks, the big ones, who are giving loans in mortgages and all that. We give loans for farmers, to farmers, those who produce food for us to eat. We give loans to carpenters, those who make chairs and tables for our children to write on. We give loans to small and medium enterprises. We are really the interface to the real sector of our economy.
Time now for our currency market update. And that does it for Business Updates. Back to Inusah to take us away.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you for bringing us the business updates. Well, that's it for AM News. Don't forget that right after the news is the news review. We'll be joined by Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He's a political scientist and the director, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. My name is Inusah Fuseini, and as usual, enjoy the rest of your day.
Welcome aboard the News Review segment. Benjamin Akakpo is in the studio with us. Hi, Benjamin. How are you feeling this morning?
Hi from the blue corner, the
and
right
hi from
corner.
The black corner.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm wearing blue shoes, so I'm still matching you.
You know, interestingly, for some of us, when we watch on TV, sometimes the cameras distort colors a bit. So your color kind of looks navy blue this morning. If you're watching us this morning and you agree with me, let me know what color you see of a dress, whether you see a plain black or maybe something close to navy blue.
Our producer is saying, the director is saying something, and I won't repeat it on air. Benjamin is.
But you know, sometimes I don something, and people out there see a color that is a shade of what I use. Not. It's
Just like the way TV also adds like 10 pounds to your weight. You know, I don't actually look this big.
Oh.
You know
Sometimes I go out.
You look bigger than you actually are.
No, sometimes people say I look bigger in person than I look on TV. Some say the opposite.
Hey.
So you get all these remarks.
TV has a couple of pounds, so we are not as big as we look.
One of the funniest ones I got, someone listened to my voice, watched me and said, let me just say, oh, yeah, TikTok. Wow.
Hey. That's how when you're small man.
But the person's expectations were high.
But yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the news review. We'll be bringing in our guest shortly, but you know how we do it. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helps us bring you this segment every weekday morning, and today is no different. They are offering you free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Their branches, many. Let's start with Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. The Stakradi Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zema. You can reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Sweetie, you want to join me for this? Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. The end to chronic disease. All right. Shall we bring in our guest?
Yes, Dr. Kwame Asante, head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, joins us this morning to review the various stories captured in our newspapers. Doc, welcome aboard. Good morning.
Good morning, Sweetie. Good morning, Ben. And good morning to our viewers.
Good morning.
Sweetie, you've done so well by pronouncing the name correctly.
Yay! Yes. Thank you so much. I had to say it in my head a couple of times so I don't get it wrong. Asante. Thank you, Doc. But you have your minute or two to get into any topical issue that's occupying space in your mind this morning, Doc. Share your thoughts with us.
Yes, I think I will talk about, I'll use this occasion to salute the Obuasi MP, Kweku-Addo. One of the things that are so scarce in politics is having people who have the courage to come out and speak about the ills of society. It is more interesting when the person is speaking about his or her government. Then you know we are getting somewhere. Those of us who are watchers of democracy, then internal democracy is beginning to take shape. We are all alive to the statement by Kweku-Addo and the conversation that has accompanied the write-up. We don't have time, but I commend him for the courage and then the fact that he was able to flag these things up and then share with us. He talked about 3 or 4 main things, which are very good. One, overspending and economic mismanagement that has characterized the way we run the affairs of the state to the extent that we are now running, to quote him, a Ponzi scheme. He talked about the fact that we borrow to finance overspending. And also, we talk about the fact that we don't get our priorities right. And as a result, we govern anyhow. And there are a lot of things that affect us. He also talked about the fact that we spend a lot of our resources, political actors, for themselves, as opposed to the people. If you put all together, it gives you a certain picture that economic mismanagement is key and good governance is out.
Right.
What is he talking about? All that he has said, if you talk about the economic mismanagement and overspending, he's talking about, or he's coming from Article 39(1), which says that the state shall take steps to manage the economy so that we have development and it will promote welfare and give livelihoods, means of livelihoods to people. This thing has been with us for a long time. And if we don't flag these things out and deal with them, we are going to undermine this provision. We are not going to ensure development of this country, and economic livelihoods is going to suffer. He is also, from all that he has said, he is also coming from Article 41(1), that people, everybody in this state, including the state, should take steps to expose misuse and waste of public funds. And he is coming right away from here. In addition to that, he is talking about Article 34(8), that everybody, including the state, must make sure that we root out corruption from our system.
Right.
These are the things, the evils in the political space that affect us so badly. And we have kept quiet and allowed this thing to fester. I am happy that he has also taken the blame, part of the blame himself, that he has also been in government and all that. He believed that the time is now to flag these things out and then bring it to the attention of the public. We commend him, but we want to urge him to stay the course and make sure that we deal with this issue head on. We also want to urge government that government should take particular interest in this and not shove it under the carpet that, oh, this is a dissenting voice, we are not interested. This is important because governance is nothing but what? It is when you have criticisms, and criticisms are nothing but the oils that grease the wheels of governance. Without it, grinds to a halt.
Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts with us. Let's start getting into the newspapers. I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, 6 new varsities ready December. That is the Minister of Education saying that they're going to build 6 new universities by the end of this year. Ministry launches app call center to fix defective roads. And then there's this Toforson Japa freed AG to appeal story. Yesterday made headlines all over the place. And Apenyo Markin proposes plan to tackle plastic waste. I'll get into 3 major stories and then I'll come to you, Doc. Starting with this story on Toforson Japa freed. So the minority leader in Parliament, Dr. Kesola Toforson, tasted a major courtroom victory yesterday after he was acquitted and discharged by the Court of Appeal of charges of causing financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state. And also set free by the court was Richard Japa, the businessman and third accused, who was standing trial with Dr. Forson on account of abetment to woefully cause financial loss to the state. That story's made headlines. The Attorney General has spoken. People have criticized his remarks, his choice of words for describing the judgment, but I'll leave it and I'll come to you, Doc, when I'm done with the rest of the stories. Then there's a story about 6 new varsities to be ready by December. The government will establish 6 new universities in the country by the end of this year. The Minister of Education, Dr. Yawose Duchum, has said they are the University of Engineering and Applied Sciences at Akredie in the Ahafo region, the University of Engineering and Agricultural Science at Bonso in the Eastern region, the University of Health, Agriculture and Life Sciences at Kintampo in Bono East region, the University of Mampong in the Ashanti region, the Local Governance and Leadership University in Accra, and the University for Sports Development. Ambitious, if you ask me. And then the last story I'll tackle on is the story about Apenyo Markin wanting to tackle plastic waste, right? And that story is on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. The head of Ghana's delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, Alexander Apenyo Markin, has proposed a 5-point action plan to the ECOWAS Parliament for consideration to tackle the threats posed by plastic waste to the environment, food security and cultural heritage. He said the bloc's parliament must first push for harmonized legislation across member states to phase out single-use plastics within the next 3 years, as well as make heavy investment in innovative waste management solutions that turn the challenge into opportunity. Those stories for your thoughts, Doc.
Yes, I think I will start with the 6 new universities. Good idea that we are having 6 new universities and all that. But look, let's look at it carefully. The ones we have, what are the problems confronting the universities? Has government been able to address them so as to add on? You add on when the existing one, you have not been able to put it to a certain level that it's able to meet all its requirements and able to function properly. So once you're going to add, obviously, and the old one exists without effort to what improve it, obviously it becomes what a difficult question to deal with. Two, the issue about the fact that, look, you are talking about what? Getting new universities. You are going to train more manpower. Where are they going to work? Will they have jobs? My students, political science at Legum, level 100, they are about 1,400. City campus about 400, distance about 600. You are talking about a level, right? So these numbers you are going to add onto, where are they going to work? That should what? Agitate the minds of what? Holders of political power. That we can't just be, churning out students, but they must go out there and work and come and support the building of what? The economy. So yes, all the courses they are talking about are being run by what? The existing universities, right? So if there is anything, improve the lot of the existing ones and before you move on into other universities. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's going to be what? A new program that is going to add to the existing problems. And that is not what we deserve in this country.
All right.
The issue of plastic waste.
Doc, if I may just add to that as well. It beats my imagination, Sweetie and Doc. Same thing with hospitals, Agenda 111 and the rest.
Yes.
I mean, why not let Kolebu, for example, which is a medical center. People come here for medical tourism in the West African sub-region. People come from even outside West Africa. Why not raise Kolebu to some of the standards that the UGMC, and I'm not denigrating Kolebu, but some of their equipment has problems and all that. Make it state-of-the-art, world-class. Then you have Kolebu, UGMC, prop up the Greater Accra Regional Hospital to the same level. I mean, we keep doing this. It's better to have a few that are of a certain high standard than to have many that don't offer much. But you see, I don't get it. I just had to, lament and add my voice to that. Makes no sense.
Bad policies. Those who sit there to craft policies, they need to get to the drawing board and learn the ABCs of what? Public policy. Otherwise, they will continue to what? Waste our resources. Let us remember that public policies are driven by what? Taxpayers' what? Money. And we always want to ensure value for money.
Right.
Right.
Okay, Doc.
I'll look at the public waste and then the way Parliament want to deal with that proposal from Majority Leader, the rest of them. Good idea. But the problems we have in this country, one of it is enforcement of the law. Do we have that? We have so many beautiful laws existing in our books. Are they enforced? You realize that at a point in time, government lacks the courage to deal with that. So the regulatory capacity of the state is missing. And remember, once you lose regulatory capacity and you lose about 3 of them, you are going to a failed state. Is that what we are looking at? We can come out with millions of laws. Ghana is noted for coming out with what, being the first to pass a law, being so and so. But enforcement is missing. Public waste, right? If you go to the US, they will tell you that American Parliament is unique. Unique in the sense that when it passes a law, it goes out there to ensure that the law works. Is that what we have here? So our Parliament should look at things carefully. We are not interested in having laws, but the laws must be enforced and enforced to the letter. And apart from that, we must also, as a people, develop a culture of protecting the environment. The way we are destroying the environment, a time will come, we will not have this ecosystem again. Because if you go to the beach and you see plastic waste coming from the sea, you'll be amazed. You will be so surprised that do we have people who manage sanitation in this country?
In fact, we have what? Plastic management policy or something. Yet we still churn out over 800,000 tons of plastic waste.
Is it working? Go to other jurisdictions. Dustbins have been provided where if it's plastic, you put it in. If it's paper, bottle, and all that. What are we talking about? Waste management is a problem. So some of these things, I listen to it, but I don't pay attention. Then Atofosson and Japa issue, right? Very interesting. I mean, the conversation and the rest of them. I believe that I salute the court that at the end of the day, they look at the facts and they've come out with something that is going to be the turning moment in strengthening the frontiers of our democracy.
Right.
If you look at the judgment and the things that were said in there, I believe that going forward, we will take political notice and deal with some of the weaknesses in our legal system and make sure that we always get the best. For me, as soon as you pass judgment and then, it goes in a certain direction like this, everybody hail the judicial system. We want it to be sustained because let us remember that the court is the public court. So all of us must show interest in making sure that it works to the interest of the people.
All right, Doc. Thank you. Benjamin, let's do your paper now.
Well, quickly, Daily Guide newspaper and 2.37 million euro ambulance case after forcing Japa freed AG to appeal decision. We've already taken a look at that. I'll just add something when I get there. ECOWAS Parliament, Afenyo Marking calls for plastic waste solution like we've been talking about. You exemplify good leadership, Liberian IGP to Dampare, and then stop tagging judiciary, majority leader blasts NDC. Then Ghana's education makes significant strides. That's according to Education Minister Dr. Yao Educhum. And then 13 arrested in illegal forex trading crackdown. On the back page, Grealish rues Euros snub. Jack Grealish, of course, of Manchester City, says being left out of England's Euro 2024 squad was the most difficult thing I've had to deal with in my career. Ghana depart for ICC Cricket World Cup qualifier. We pray that those people going are actually members of the cricket team, as we've seen in this country. Mbappe is Division 2 side majority shareholder, and Bantama lift MTN Ashanti Fest Gala. So I'll not go into too many of them. I'll just be very brief. Yesterday we had that event at the Accra International Conference Center, and the Minister of Education, Dr. Yawase Educhum, has highlighted the government's significant strides in transforming the country's educational system. The minister noted that Ghana had made remarkable progress in improving the quality of education with a focus on creating a more inclusive and innovative learning environment, as well as developing critical minds and improving public schools. He went on to talk about education, provisions, critical thinking, free SHS achievements, and all of that. For me, the minister, especially, he's been supporting engineering students in his constituency. I believe it's Busumtre or something of the sort. And when it comes to STEM, the STEM institutions, fantastic if we maintain them, and they need more logistics. But when it comes to free SHS, that is where my problem is. But if you just detach the STEM institutions alone, I feel under his watch, we've done a fantastic job. But free SHS, many problems for me. Then I'll look at the one about Atoforsen. I'm not going to get into the story. We've already got there. But the point is, with everything that has happened legally, some say that, of course, the judiciary itself, justices of the court, the judicial service, and the timelines. In a few days, I believe they are going on recess. What happens to this case? The AG says he wants to appeal. His language in that release, that the ruling is perverse and everything, I don't know. When it has gone his way, he's not sounded that way. But some have also raised the question, as part of the plea bargaining process, there had been an attempt to pay over 2 million euros back to the state. It was rejected. According to processes, as far as I know, the money could have been taken. Some of the processes still could have continued. In other words, we could have won both ways. Now that this has happened, we lose the money as of now, barring whatever happens at the Apex Court. We lose the money, and the gentlemen who supposedly were guilty are also going free. Inti Yakoye and Nase Yabaye. Where I'll wrap is page 6. Stop tagging judiciary. Majority leader blasts NDC. Yesterday, he was congratulating Dr. Kasiala Atoforsen, by the way. Yes. The majority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, has cautioned the opposition, NDC, and its minority in parliament to desist from tagging the judiciary as partisan and being under the control of the executive whenever cases do not go their way. The statement was in relation to a 2-1 majority decision of the Court of Appeal, which acquitted, of course, we know, the minority leader and Richard Japa. It goes on and on. Doc, briefly, your reflections on these stories.
Yeah, I'll look at the strides we are making in education and the rest of them. You have said it, and you couldn't have said it better. Yes, we are making progress, but said we have improved the environment and all that. Which environment are we talking about? We have people who are learning under trees in this country. We have a system, a shift system that continued to exist. When I was a little boy, we had shift system. I mean, do you still have some here? Right. There are problems. I want our state to take into consideration these problems and deal with them. There is no doubt that there have been improvement and all that, but the weaknesses are also there for us to see. I went through you talk about the senior high school and all that. If you look at the results that they release, they will tell you that, oh, so and so percentage and all that. Go into the actuals. You realize the number of people who failed the exams. Yeah. A lot, about 190-something thousand. And so if you are writing exams...
And even just to add a quick point, I didn't really realize it. The other day when Professor Wandari, I think, came here, he made mention, you see, you can compel them to move through SHS, right? Secondary education. But the quality, a lot of them, when they apply, for example, for the University of Ghana and other institutions, that is where the cutoff will cut a lot of them off. I was surprised because he mentioned about 40% or so plus who do not get admission. So already they are cut off from there. And some of them, a lot of them, first year in university, you know, if you don't meet certain benchmarks, you will fall off. And they keep telling me, my lecturer friends keep telling me that these students are coming with A, B+, but they can't perform in class. A lot of them are having to be sacked and all of that. So I don't know whether it's just for, oh yes, we've rolled them over, but what is the quality of what they put in their heads? We need to ensure quality.
I want them to focus on the basics, the basics. You go to certain jurisdictions and you realize what is happening. You'll be amazed. We want to encourage engineering, but we must first of all encourage mathematics, which is what the foundation, mathematics. You look at the results, the WASSCE results. Those that fail, if it's not English, it is mathematics. And if you fail in mathematics, none of the sciences would you say that you'll be able to survive there. Right. So the foundation there, the foundation subjects, we must be strong. English, once you drop it, it's over. Where are you going? And I took the trouble to go through the WASSCE results. And I realized that the figures, much as that people have passed and all that, the figures that what are not able to make it, 190-something thousand. So you write examination and 190-something would fail, and we think we are happy. Please, we need to look at that. We need to look at that.
Thank you for those brief thoughts. Let's get into other papers.
The Custodian newspaper now. Baumia to join Ofie Mega Walk. Apanyo marking rallies ECOWAS to end plastic waste. We just gotten into that story. New shippers law to regulate port charges, and adjust SAFO cautions against conflicts between ICC bill and Ghana's constitution. But I want to do an interesting story here about Asante Kotoko at 89, the legends who made the club tick. I'll just give you a bit of excerpt here. Kumasi Asante Kotoko will be 89 years old this August 2024. 3 cheers for the Porcupine Warriors. 89 years of excellence on the field of play is no joke. And I think you should grab a copy of this paper yourself and read it. And
please, that's a very important story.
I know. I know.
You have to delve further into that story.
No, please. That's how. Look at you. Asante Kotoko is older than Ghana's independence, eh?
Ukuma Apembeba.
Apembeba. Anyway, so that caught my attention. And then I just suffer cautions against conflicts between ICC bill and Ghana's constitution. The Member of Parliament for Dobi Kwamenya constituency, Sarah Josafo, has cautioned against the possible conflicts between the proposed ICC bill seeking to domesticate the Rome Statutes in Ghana and the 1992 constitution. And she's worried that the jurisdiction of the ICC may clash with the sovereignty of Ghana, urging the Ghanaian authorities to exercise caution with its implementation plans regarding the Rome Statute of the ICC. And then let me just add this, the Accra Times newspaper, help NDC to reset Ghana. That is Mahama and Jane urging 2024 voters. Ghana Shippers Authority bill passed. Let me get into that story, actually. I just read the headline on the other paper. It's on page 3. And it reads, the Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, Honorable Alban Bagbin, and the President of the National Assembly. No, that's a different story. Sometimes these newspapers tell you the stories on a page, and you open that page and it's not there. Right, it's rather on page 4. So the Parliament of Ghana has, on Monday, 29th July, passed into law the Ghana Shippers Authority Bill 2024, following its successful 3rd reading. Among others, the law, which amends its 50-years-old establishment of law, would regulate commercial activities of shippers and primarily address the issue of unfair and excessive charges that burden traders who use Ghana's sea and airports as well as land borders to ply their international trade. And I wanted to get into that story because that documentary is still airing, porous borders, and how traders are evading taxes to smuggle goods into the country, and they're paying as little as 20 Ghana cedis. Those are the only stories I would do now. Doc, quick reflection,
right.
Let me go to bed.
I will start with Inusah Fuseini's call. It's a right one. I have been a reporter in Parliament, and I was there when an agreement was signed. But it was brought to Parliament to be signed, and finally it was signed, the bilateral non-surrender agreement. You recall, where U.S. Per that agreement, if U.S. has some people, they call them all contractors, and where they operate, when they are caught up with the laws of the country, you have no right to try them in that country. Yeah. So you have to bring them to America for trial and all that. That was a heavy debate then that was affecting the sovereignty of Ghana and all that. People said no, yes, yes, but at the end of the day, it was passed. What we heard was that Ghana was able to, by that one, we got about $2 million for facilities for the state army and all the rest of them. And when we think about sovereignty, it's so important to the hearts of many, including we political scientists. That is the crust of everything. So when you want to go into rules like that, we must be very careful so that we protect the sovereignty and sanctity of this country. It's so critical. So I support Ajua in that call and all that. We have to look at these things. The way that bill raised noise in Parliament, you have no idea. I was a reporter. We call that bill what? The Banza Agreement, bilateral non-surrender agreement. You recall, right? I move on to look at the, I think, Asante Kotoko.
Yeah.
Yes, Ben, I am in your territory.
Oh, yes.
Kotoko has done so well. Right. I used to be a football enthusiast and had my club. I supported Accra House of Folk. But they disappointed me so much that I have to run away. And then I came to follow Black Star with all my heart and all my mind. And you know the stories from the 90s up to 2000s. Look, I am on sabbatical leave. I watch them. I don't put my heart to it. But that's the club of my country, so I so support. But look, I salute Asante Kotoko. They've done a lot. If you were following soccer in the 80s and 90s and 70s, goodness me. Look, you love Kotoko. With Yaya Kasums, with the Pukunti, Abdul Razak, and those guys really made Kotoko, you know, what it is today. Winning laurels on the continent of Africa and back home. That time, when you look at local league, Kotoko and Haas, oh man, you will love it. Is that what we're having today? There's something that is...
Oh, and don't forget Olympics.
Olidade,
and even Cornerstones and others that, you know,
Jesus Christ. And then 11 Wise.
11 Wise too.
Asma, we go do. Man, we had
and the days when RTU was RTU.
RTU. Jesus, look, now where are those teams? And they were great teams. So we salute Kotoko. They've done a lot. They've done it. But we need to strengthen local world football so as to get the best for Black Star. We can't rely on foreign players all the time. Let's build capacity from home. People like Eto and Ku, they develop them from home before people pick that. Abedi Pele was playing here. He started playing with water. I think Benin and all that. He played so well. You know, we saw them. So what is Ofe and Sayonko? They never travel anywhere, but they play soccer here, maintain the football and all that. What are we seeing here? We want to produce those days, the Faustino, Asperera, Marco Van Basten type of players and all that. They could match them. You know, today we don't have them. I am praying that Kotoko will still maintain their stance and then the quality of play. And then that will strengthen Ghana's football. I think I'll end here.
All right. Do you have any more papers then?
I'll just briefly do this. I want the Ghanaian Publishers editor to know, where's his name? Or her name. I cannot see it here. Okay, I'll try to find. It's not so clear. Nothing is. Look at the page, sweetie. Do you see? You can see practically nothing on the page. So please do justice for us. But there's also this one. Can and or should I vote as a Seventh-day Adventist in the December 7, 2024 polls in Ghana? All you need to know, questions and answers. I'll not go into it, but it's a story by Dr. James Kwabena Bomfe Jr. You know, there have been calls. I think recently there's is it a member of parliament on the MPP side, or is it a minister? No, it was the agric minister, Dr. Brian Echampong, who put up something about, I think the Adventists, SDA, that something should be done in terms of their ability to vote and all of that. I think it's still a question. And he made mention of the population. I think there are about 800,000 or something like that in Ghana. I remember seeing that post. I think it was Dr. Brian Echampong.
Apart from that, I think their PRO also came out some time ago about the request for EC to consider, you know, their mode of worship and the time and all that, and factor them into the calculation. We discussed and, you know, we discussed extensively on that. So maybe they are bringing that conversation, but there are a lot to be said about that. It will create a whole lot of problems for us. What about those of us who worship our ancestors and gods and all that? How do you deal with that? The Constitution creates opportunity for all of us. Interests must be catered for and all that. So it is a very tricky one. And all that, because more often than not, when people speak in this country, they forget about other religions, including traditional religion, which has been the religion of this land. They forget about that. When people are talking about running mate and all that, oh, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, traditional people. But when they are in difficulty, they come to the palace, they come to the shrine, they come to, what about that? They are the owners of the land.
I just want to say this. I think some of these matters sometimes, and I'm not disrespecting any, I never want to disrespect anybody or any religion. But you remember there were days when some of us studied under you. There were some exams that were on Sundays. Would you say because of that you wouldn't, we would go and sit, open control. You know, it's simple. Skipping church for a day, I never skip church unless there are circumstances beyond my control. But if I have to because I have an exam, I don't see why it's such a big deal. Is it that God doesn't understand? He does. So I feel in some of these instances, I mean, so you're skipping that religious duty for a day. Even the Bible says it, doesn't it? The law was made for man, not man for the law. So I think sometimes we ought to be, but of course, every religion has its own, and that's something that you cannot take away from people. But I don't see how exercising your franchise once in 4 years, once every 4 years, if you are missing one Saturday or some Sunday, not observing the Sabbath, I respectfully think that it's not as though God doesn't understand. You had committed some crime beyond imagination. But of course, I still respect the stance of those who say they will not. The same way some would say, I will not accept blood transfusion, even if I'm going to die. You know, I wouldn't do that, but others will, and that's their belief, and I respect it. Totally.
Ben, we respect, for instance, I respect all religions and all that. But you see, for harmony, we have to be able to engage in compromises and then move on. As you rightly said, once in 4 years and all that. Saturday, by traditional calendar, it can fall on what? Dapa, which is the next day is Adai. In traditional calendar, Dapa is critical. Dapa. All right. They observe that, leading to what? That die on Sunday and all that. But you see, we have to look at how we balance all these things, because when everybody's interests want to be brought to the table, at the end of the day, we are going to have problems. For Legon, we write exam every day.
Yeah.
And including Adventists, they write every day.
Yeah.
I mean, if I know students who don't write, yes, and then they postpone and come and write later, but we write every day.
Yeah, I remember taking exams on Sundays. And
yes, I salute, I respect all religions and all that, but I'm saying that sometimes we have to make some compromises and then move on. Because not every day that we go to church, not every day that we go to shrine. Sometimes we are not sick, nothing is worrying us, but we decide that, this Saturday or this Sunday, I will not go to church and all that. Let us use that and deal with this one. Otherwise, everybody bringing his interests on the table will create chaos.
I mean, we Catholics, we observe the Sabbath on Sunday, but in most churches, there's Mass every day, if you know Catholics. There were times when I used to attend Mass for years, every day. Now time doesn't allow me, but every day there's Mass in my parish, in most parishes. How about that? I don't know whether you're done with your papers. I had wanted to read a message. And okay, so let me read this message that came through from my good old professor. He usually sends in messages. He doesn't want to be known. He's a former vice chancellor, so I'll leave it there. He says, Ben, today I disagree with you. You want us to focus on Kolebu, UGMC and Ridge. What we need is universal health coverage. As a public health physician, I am very, very passionate about improving access so that my people in Kwaibibrim district don't have to travel to the UGMC for care. Doc, so let me just say, Prof, I don't dispute what you're saying. Universal health coverage is fantastic. We can do that, even with the CHIPS compounds. What are we doing with them? But at a certain level, the Kolebus and the UGMCs and the Ridges are on a certain pedestal. And we have to get them to a certain level. Look at how many of us, even there are certain tests we can't conduct in this country. Recently, a friend had an issue. They have to go conduct it in South Africa. The cost and all of that. Why can't we? I'm not saying all hospitals, just a few of them. Anyway, that's just my thoughts.
And let me also
we can agree to disagree on that.
Yes, a quick one. I salute Prof, but I want to also add that, look, the existing facilities that we have, you can just upgrade it with little cost and get the best that will serve our interests so that from time to time we develop the rest. Imagine you finish Kolebu, develop it to the highest. You go to Komfo-Anokye, you go to other places. You don't need to travel from Tamale to come to Accra and get healthcare at the highest level. If you build the capacity of Tamale Teaching Hospital, we can be able to put it at that level and it will serve that universal health that we all deserve.
Right. Lest I get beaten by the Joy Newsroom, I have to do this. Happy birthday to former Greater Accra Regional Minister and former MP for Kpong Katamanso, Honorable Joseph Ni Laye Akufo-Addo. The Lord bless and keep you from MFA, Etiamwa Eli, and all of us here at the Joy Newsroom. This one, I would have got lashes for it if I didn't do it. So
it's good that you did. I do want to celebrate a very inspiring young lady, Victoria Ment from Academic City, and she's one of the mentees under the Girl Gets Up Africa program. And she's been selected among 11,000 applicants for the Global Student Prize by CHEG, and she's one of the 50 finalists, only representative from Ghana. Congratulations, Victoria. Go and make Ghana proud. We salute you.
Congratulations to you. All right, that's how we wrap up the news review this morning. Dr. Asante, we are grateful for your time. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. We wish you the best of the day.
Have a good day.
All right. This segment always brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. As always, they're offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Their branches here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronomabwe behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Tichim and Hanswa, and Esiaman Zema. You can call them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports is up next. You do want to stay for all the action.
Time for sports on the AM show with me, Haruna Mubarak. To our first story, and after demolishing the club's secretariat over 2 years ago for reconstruction, Hearts of Oak have now unveiled their new commercial center. The Phobians can now boast of a great addition to their facilities as they make massive strides to match their status in African football. Lawrence Beidou has more in this report.
It's been a difficult period for Hearts of Oak on the pitch in recent years. The Phobians faced the threat of relegation until the final day of last season. Recently, the team lost the Democracy Cup to Asante Kotoko. However, off the pitch, they are making massive strides to match their top club status. Following the demolition of the old building in May 2022, The club's management has now received a newly built edifice from contractors for the Phobia House. The 3-floor story building is a modern facility that will serve as a commercial complex as management looks forward to add value to their brand.
And this is a demonstration of our commitment to building a solid infrastructure base for Accra Suffolk. Sooner than later, we'll be commissioning this place, and soon after, we'll be commissioning the Pubman Academy as well. The two together, a demonstration of our commitment to building a preeminent club in Africa. Of course, we have secretariat that the secretariat that will continue to function. What we have today will remain our commercial center. Again, a demonstration of our commitment to ensuring that we exploit as much as possible the commercial value of the brand that we are building.
Project manager Lord Deshain believes the commercial center will attract the same level of attention as those owned by some of the biggest clubs on the continent.
I think that, I mean, you are witness to this this edifice we've been through. You've seen what the facilities that it has. It has various. It's basically a semi-smart building. It has all the facilities that it needs about a commercial building like this to work on. So I'm sure it can be so much comparable to so many within West Africa and Africa.
The management of the club also plans to include a museum in the newly built center, which will house some of the achievements and history of Hat-to-Folk. It is the hope of the Phobia fraternity that the massive progress of the pitch will have a ripple effect on the pitch when the season resumes on September 6. Lawrence Baidu for Joy Sports.
Until the Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, follows through with his declaration to file an appeal at the Supreme Court, the accused persons in the highly publicized ambulance procurement trial, Dr. Kasil Atoforsen and businessman Richard Jagba, are free. What has been lost again is that the state has lost the opportunity to have secured the 2.37 million euros that were lost due to the processes leading up to the procurement of the ambulance and how the ambulance came in and were unfit for purpose at the time. The state had the opportunity when Big C proposed that they were willing to pay the amount to the state, but the Attorney General and prosecution for that matter declined that offer. Today, that opportunity is lost. The states cannot go back and secure that $2.37 million. It has now been lost to the state.
Earlier said, this ruling is a victory for all democracy-loving Ghanaians and those who hold fidelity to the rule of law, to the law. So it's a victory for all Ghanaians. It's not a victory for me alone. And for all those who were praying and they saw that we needed integrity in this country and they wanted that protected. And so it's a victory for everyone.
When I spoke with you during one of your interviews here at the court complex, you mentioned that the judge was treating you like a convict who is only going through the motion and then at the end of the day you're going to be thrown into jail. Do you regret that statement now that the case has been, taken off by the Court of Appeal?
Not at all. I stand by it because it's a fact. It was very obvious and clear. And the justice that I got with all Ghanaians supporting it, I got it from the Court of Appeal and not from the High Court. The High Court, if you realize, we sat yesterday and we're to sit today, Tuesday, and we're to sit Wednesday. So you could see that she's in a hurry to finish this case before the election.
The Attorney General has since vowed to appeal the Court of Appeal ruling, which he describes as perverse, grossly unfair, and erroneous decision at the Supreme Court.
Richard Japa says he is ready for that.
I'm always ready. If the Attorney General wants to go to the court or go to the Supreme Court to appeal against the ruling, I'll meet him there. Even if he doesn't win there, he wants to go for review, I'll meet him there. Wherever he wants to go, I'll meet him there. So I don't have an issue at all. I'm really ready for this government. I'm ready for them.
It remains to be seen if the Attorney General will indeed appeal the ruling or not. Richard Japa left the court complex happy and full of smile. Dr. Kesilatu Forsin, Sylvester Animana, and Richard Japa were dragged to the High Court in 2021 for willfully causing financial loss to the state and misapplying state property.
The minority leader, Dr. Kesilatu Forsin, was greeted into the chamber with cheers and chants from his NDC colleagues who had white cloth draped around their necks. All this in celebration of the acquittal of Dr. Kesilatu Forsin and businessman Richard Japa, who were both standing trial for allegedly causing financial loss to the state. The former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, explained all this to the House, stressing the Attorney General will be further embarrassed if he pushes through this appeal.
The decision by the High Court for him to proceed with a submission of his case had no legal basis, and therefore they not only discharged him but acquitted him. That is what we are celebrating, and he's invited to celebrate us. Now, Mr. Speaker, I hear the Attorney General, even instead of swallowing his humble pride, is saying that he wants to litigate on this matter. Mr. Speaker, we assure him that he will be further disgraced.
Majority Leader Alexa Nafenyo-Makin said he shared in the victory of the minority leader, but insisted the NDC should stop attacking judges whenever judicial decisions don't go their way.
We have to be very consistent as a political class in our celebration of the judiciary. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the position taken by the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. No executive arm of government can manipulate the judiciary arm of the realm. Mr. Speaker, it must never be said that the judiciary is under the control of the executive. Mr. Speaker, I celebrate in your victory, and you know how much it means to democracy in this country. Minority leader on trial, you've gone through the system, your belief in the judiciary system. Today, on all fours, I don't take alcohol, but I can offer you a non-alcoholic wine. Mr. Speaker, I know Atu doesn't take alcohol either. No, I don't. I have serious allergies. Oh, we are not talking about that things. Mr. Speaker, I know Atu doesn't take alcohol either. Anytime we go for lunch, it is fruit juice.
Parliament is set to go on break at the close of business today, and the latest development would have been expected at the start of this meeting, when the trial threatened to handicap Parliament in the delivery of its mandate, when the NDC announced boycott whenever their leader was in court. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
I'm a firm believer in the rule of law. I'm an adherent to the rule of law, and clearly I will appeal against the decision. This is the first time that a decision adverse to the prosecution has been given by a court. Remember when there was an order after we had led so much evidence against Dr. Opini, the High Court actually ordered that we should commence de novo. What did I do? I filed an appeal to the Court of Appeal. and I was able to sustain the appeal. And so I think that is what we've done promptly in this matter. We'll file an appeal to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to give a definitive view on the matter. And I think that clearly this decision by the Court of Appeal is wrong, is unfair to the nation, and must not be allowed to stand. If indeed it stands, it will set a very dangerous precedent for the nation. It goes against the grain of all the authorities on causing financial loss in the country. And in my respectful view, there is no case in which financial loss has been more clearly established than this one. The financial loss established, and also as a result of the act of the accused person here, is so clear. You find an accused person who even profited several thousand euros out of the 2.3 million euros that was paid for the ambulances. I mean, I think that this is so offensive to the rule of law, and indeed, the decision must not be allowed to stand.
Bar is that those words were inappropriate and unnecessary, because if a decision did not go in your favor, you could try to appeal against it, which he indicated. So those words were not necessary. Don't forget, he's the leader of the bar. Words like that should not be used to describe judgments of a court or rulings of a court. We all must believe in the system. Assuming this decision had gone in his favor, would he have used those words? I am sure no. If you remember, in 2022 at our conference, he was one of the people who spoke against former President Mohammed's description of the Supreme Court's unanimous seven. So for us, we did not expect him to use such words. The least we expected of him was to say that was a decision of the court. He would apply for the decision, review it, and advise himself. I think that would have been more appropriate.
But this case is over. I mean, as far as the appeals court is concerned, once it's out of the courts, you can say anything, can you not?
No, what I mean is this. Evans, those words are just too strong. Assuming the decision was made in his favor, would he have used such strong words? Illegal, perverse? No, he is the leader of the bar. We shouldn't expect him to be using such words. You could say you disagree with the verdict of the court and you take steps. I think that's what everybody does. But as the official leader of the bar using such words, we take an exception to it.
Actually, I knew he was going to be vindicated because he's innocent and he did the right thing. He never did anything wrong. For them to accuse him of it, I know they were just going back and forth, and I know the government just wanted to use him as a scapegoat, which was not going to work. We knew we were going to win this case hands down. We knew we were going to win it from the onset. He's innocent, and it has been proven today. A sitting government is afraid of him. He's a very strong person, and they know the impact he has on the NDC and the followers he has. So they wanted to sabotage him by bringing court issues to him, which was not going to work, and we knew he was going to win this case.
You know, Akufo-Addo is our mentor, is our everything. He has done a lot for the youth of this town and in this constituency. He has secured jobs, development, everything, everybody knows. So when this issue came to court, we were very disturbed, especially those of us who follow Akufo-Addo. And I think this is a victory for the constituency, a victory for democracy. But everybody knows that Akufo-Addo doesn't supervise the work of Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health is autonomous. He's just a minister at the Ministry of Finance. And he just did something that we call, it is mandatory. It is what the Constitution obliged him to do. So we are very grateful to the motherland. We are very grateful to the courts. We are very grateful to those people who supported Akufo-Addo through that trial. And we are very happy that our member of parliament, which is our father, our everything, is now acquitted and discharged. And I know when the law says acquitted and discharged, no court can call this case again.
There was no case at all. We are expecting a more formal way of legal actions to be taken, especially when somebody is a master of the law and then they tend to go or breach the law. I'm saying Dr. Akufo-Addo, from the beginning, we know he was innocent. But the processes and some of the actions of the legal practitioners, I think it is a time the highest court of law, being the Supreme Court, takes such actions, especially when the master of the law goes against the law. And I must say emphatically that Akufo-Addo has been innocent from the beginning. Whatever plots it was to take him anywhere wouldn't succeed. We knew from the beginning. So it's not a shock news, even though we are jubilating within. It's a good day for the victory of the NDC coming up. But we also urge that further proceedings or further investigations should be done so that any master of the law who went against the law could be called to action and punished for the illegal acts against the law of the Constitution. Yeah.
Well, welcome back as we have that all-important conversation. You can tell already by the numbers getting on to watch that you are very interested in this subject. So we asked this morning, is the NDC prepared to go the long haul with the AG, whom they accuse of treachery, as he vows a prompt response at the Apex Court upon the acquittal and discharge of Akufo-Addo and Richard Jakpa at the Court of Appeal? You know, there was that subject of whether there was a cause for that action taken to the Court of Appeal and a no-case verdict by 2-1. That was the verdict of the court. We'll get into all the conversations, but let's quickly bring in our guest this morning. Bobby Banton is a lawyer. We also have, joining the conversation, Inusah Fuseini, also a lawyer. He's also Member of Parliament, former Member of Parliament for Tamale Central and former ranking member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament. Gentlemen, good morning. Do we have Bobby Banton? Do we have Inusah Fuseini? Good morning.
Yeah, you have Inusah Fuseini.
All right. Let me just check for Bobby Banton. Bobby, good morning. If you can hear me, please unmute, Bobby. Okay, I think I see your lips saying I am unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Wow.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
You can hear me now. Okay.
All right. So, gentlemen, I want us to lay a quick foundation for this because there are so many issues to get into. What did you make of, first, the Apex Court's ruling yesterday, and second, the reaction by the Attorney General's Department, specifically that letter that was written? I'll get into some salient parts of it, but how did you receive the news? I'll start with you, Bobby Banton.
Well, I've had the privilege of reading the decision, both the lead majority and the dissenting. I think they both did a good job in respect of the appreciation of the law. You would notice that they all used almost the same cases to justify, authorities, to justify their position, applied it to the same facts, the same evidence that they all refer to, and yet arrived at different conclusions. That is the beauty of the law. I think there are interesting legal questions. Prominent for me is, at what point does the burden of proof shift on an accused person in criminal proceedings, particularly when there's an averment, a positive averment and a negative averment? I think that is a main point of discussion, and I would want to see how the Supreme Court, if indeed the Attorney General pursues the appeal as he has indicated, would make a final determination on that subject. Now, as to the reaction by the Attorney General, I agree with those that have said, and I have said yesterday, that I think that he could have avoided some of the words he used, or he could have made his point without necessarily using those words. Indeed, if you're not happy with a decision of a court, you have a right to appeal. There are rules that govern even the grounds of appeal. For example, the grounds of appeal cannot be argumentative, vague, those kind of words. You cannot use words that connote that as if the courts that rendered the decision intended there was a malice, because if you use words
or maybe was incompetent.
Well, if you say the court was incompetent, you mean that the court, not the judge, because you are dealing with the court. Jurisdiction is assigned to a court, not a judge. If you say that the court was incompetent, loosely, I say the court did not have jurisdiction. But if you use words like perverse, for me, the ordinary meaning indicates that a concerted effort to intentionally divert the course of justice. And you will not, as the leader of the bar, want to describe publicly the court in that words, because what it means is that you are not you are also in some form eroding the confidence that ordinary persons would have in the court. If you say that this is a decision against the country's fight, it's as if the court is separated from the country and the court is going against the country. But as the Attorney General, you have equal right to the court like the ordinary citizen. And so those words could have been avoided. Nobody disputes the right of the Attorney General to appeal. In fact, in criminal law, your one main ground of appeal could be that the judgment is unreasonable based on the evidence that was adduced. So the law allows you to use the words judgment was unreasonable based on the evidence that was adduced. But the moment you introduce words that connote malice, then it becomes something that is regrettable.
All right, I'll come back to that point of the AG's statement. And of course, it was after I used the word incompetent that I realized that generally it has a legal meaning. But I was looking at a more specific meaning, looking at the judges themselves. But let's and that is outside of what we're discussing. But let's look at Inusah Fuseini. I want your initial appreciation of what happened yesterday, because I will come back to both of you on that reaction of the AG as well. Inusah Fuseini.
Much, Akufo. I think that I agree largely with Bobby Johnson. I think that the Attorney General went overboard. Decorum should admit whatever happens in court, and even the statements of the Attorney General. And in this particular case, it appears that he let decorum fly through the window. The time-tested position or statements that we have known Attorney General to say is that he respects the decision but disagrees with it, and that he will take steps to challenge the decision of the court. And that ends it. I mean, if you say so, you are showing maximum respect to the court, but I disagree, and it's an opinion of the court, and you are allowed to disagree with the opinion of the court and test your opinion against a superior, court, and that is the Supreme Court. But to say that the judgment is perverse, and all that the words that he used were uncalled for and ought not to have been used, especially as leader of the bar, and more especially this case having gone through some tumultuous times in the past. And so for me, I think that it's good that the Court of Appeal has said that in their view, by 2-1 majority, that the trial court got it wrong in the case, in the submission of the case made before it by the counsel for the first and the third accused persons, and that in their view, Article Section 11 of the evidence degree ought to have animated the consideration that were these lingering doubts, which were not answered by the prosecution, which clearly could lead. If the accused person refused to open their defense, could those facts that had been adduced lead the court to pronouncing judgment on the accused person? The Court of Appeal was to review that clearly that text had not been met because they were still lingering down.
I see. Well, Sweetie Abochi.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where we draw the line. Yesterday, I was listening to the Deputy Attorney General, and in his defense of the words that the AG actually used to describe this, he said that he's not describing the court as perverse, but the judgment itself. So my question this morning is, where do we draw the line between criticizing the judgment itself and criticizing the system that the AG actually leads? Are we criticizing the AG because he's calling the judge, he's describing the judgments, which obviously doesn't sit well with him, as perverse, or are we saying that he's critiquing the entire system that he leads? Where do we draw the line? Mr. Fuseini.
It is precisely because of this confusion and difficulty in drawing the line that we have the professional ethics rules and the conduct of the Attorney General in court. That, look, as the leader of the bar, you must at all times be aware that your words, your conduct will come under the hashes of life. That when you use words, which words do not show respect to your office, that people will criticize you. And so the Attorney General ought not to have used those words for his deputy to come back to defend the use of those words. It's very important to note that. I mean, to come back to defend those words means that, I mean, those words ought not to have been used in the first place because it's attracting attention and condemnation. And so for me, it is neither the case where a person can argue that, well, we are not attacking the judges. We are saying that the judgment is a matter of opinion of the court. And you can see that clearly even from the 2-1 decision, that one judge was of a different opinion. But it's a democratic court. So 2 judges were of the same opinion against one judge. If the other judge, who was of the opinion with the majority that led to the acquittal, switched sides and followed the dissenting view, the judgment would have been different. And we all know that there might be compelling reason for an attorney general to go back, or for the prosecution to go back to court, the Supreme Court, in a case of this nature, a 2-1 decision. So why will you use those words when you know that you have the right of appeal to come back to defend or explain the use of those words? So, my dear, I'm saying that the Attorney General, as leader of the bar, must at all times be aware that his conduct, his statements, his actions will come under the harshest of light when those actions are exhibited.
Staying on that same front, I know both of you gentlemen have read the ruling of the Court of Appeal. Bobby Banton, you made mention of that earlier. I want to believe, you say that both of them, both the ratio decidendi and of course that you understand from both sides because they cite the same case law among others, authorities. And I know that you definitely, Inusah Fuseini, will be in support of it. But let's look at the wording microscopically, okay? He says the ruling is inimical to the fight against corruption, the abuse of public office and all of that. But the use of the word perverse was what hit me the most. And I want to just expatiate on that. If you look at the Cambridge Dictionary, it has 2 definitions online. Perverse as an adjective meaning strange and not what most people would expect or enjoy. But then the second meaning, having the effect of being or intended to be the opposite of what is usually expected or considered reasonable. Underline reasonable. Another dictionary I have is harsher. It says in its second definition of the word perverse, morally wrong, evil, wicked, perverted. Note those words. So the first one alludes to a lack of reason. The second one, morally wrong or evil, wicked or perverted. Now my question to you, especially as Xavier Kuje, who speaks for the Ghana Bar Association, has said that this was wholly unnecessary, especially considering that the same Godfred Yeboah-Dame, when former President Mahama described the Apex Court as unanimous 7, unanimous FC and all of that, Godfred Yeboah-Dame railed against that. I'll start with you, Bobby Banton, on those specifics and the calls for Godfred Yeboah-Dame to face some punishment. What is your take?
Ben, you know, one regret that I have about this whole matter is the fact that some way, somehow, the conversations always end up being around the person of the Attorney General instead of the should I say, the suit or the criminal proceedings and the principles of law that is being applicable. That whether intentionally or unintentionally or for political expediency, unfortunately has come to be the main, so it's more or less centered about him and what he says in respect, and it takes away a lot of the focus on the real issues at hand. I wish that it's the narrative change, but unfortunately it is what it is. I like I said, I wouldn't have used the words he used. It doesn't mean that he's still not the Attorney General. He was appointed by the President. In the past, when the allegations of him conducting himself in a manner that was not expected of his office by dealing with an accused person and advising him to go and take medical report and what have you. He still, stood his grounds. He still went ahead to do his case. The executive that appointed him did not indicate that they would take any step in respect of that. So unfortunately, we are where we are. I do not think that he would consider resigning or stepping aside, or even, I heard in some quarters that he should not even be allowed to address the bar at this year bar conference. I do not expect him to give in to those demands. Whatever it is, I am sure that with hindsight and with good counsel, perhaps he would perhaps come out to say that some of the words he used are harsh. He would rephrase them, apologize if need be, and then so that we can focus on the real issues at hand. If he doesn't give an apology, well, the jury is out there of everything that has come to play so far. But I would wish that, like the High Court judge advised, that because of the nature of the allegations that have been made, some of the statements that has been made, the allegation that he has not denied, the conversations that he had with Mr. Japa, she advised that it would have been good if he personally does not get involved in the prosecution of the case.
Right.
Unfortunately, he insisted that he will go ahead and be personally involved.
Right.
And some of the comments that he has made shows as if to suggest that he has, a personal interest in the matter, which I do not think that may be.
Bobby, pardon my sincere apologies for this. Just hold for me. We've been able to get the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Chiayeboa, a Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Chiayeboa. We want to hear from him briefly. I'll come back to you, Bobby, when I'm done, and then to Inusah Fuseini. Senior, good morning.
Good morning, bro.
It's good to have you join the conversation. I know you've been talking on this matter, but since yesterday, the appeal court's ruling was out there, but instead of focusing on what it says, many people are now talking of the reaction from the Attorney General's department. What is your understanding of the ruling and the response? Do you feel people are right in the sort of backlash your department is receiving?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, yesterday the Court of Appeal, by split 2-1 decision, delivered a judgment acquitting Akufo-Addo and Japa. Ghana is a nation of laws. We have various procedures when it comes to a party wanting to file an appeal against a decision. In this particular matter, it is a considered opinion of the Attorney General. The judgment will have to look at once again by the Supreme Court. And so we've taken possession of a copy of the judgment, we've digested same, and we are putting in place measures to ensure that we file an appeal against this judgment. When it comes to the public backlash, as we say, the wording of the statement that was issued. The statement was issued principally to let the public know the steps that Attorney General will be taking upon the delivery of the judgment yesterday. After all, the Attorney General is not in office acting on his own as an individual. He represents the people. And so any decision that he intends taking, he wanted to communicate to the people of Ghana. This is exactly what was done yesterday.
Right, and I heard the Attorney General speak to us on midday on radio and justify his position. In other words, he still stands by that. And mind you, the PRO of the Ghana Bar Association, by extension, the Ghana Bar Association has said that that was unnecessary. You don't use such language, perverse, inimical to this and that. And especially when you've cited other people, including former President Mahama in the past, for using unanimous 7, unanimous FC, and the rest. People are saying that he shouldn't even address that, conference when the bar meets. Justified, and are you also in support of the language used in that reaction?
Yes, if you look at the text of the release that the AG gave out, it is about his or our disagreement with the judgment, which is within the right of every lawyer so to do. Any lawyer, for that matter, every litigant, has the right to criticize a judgment, but not the judge. So this statement is in relation to the judgment so delivered. I heard what the PR also said on your network yesterday. Last night said, personally speaking, I'm not yet convinced that the AG has done anything to attack the court or a judge. But we are humans. If we are convinced.
But when you attack the court, by extension, what are you saying?
You can criticize a judgment by saying a judgment is unreasonable, is illogical, is perverse, but you cannot say a court. So there's a fine distinction. If you say unanimous FC, it means that you are attacking the court, not the judgment. But if you say that the judgment delivered by the court is unreasonable, it's something that cannot be supported, it's illogical, it means that you are only criticizing the judgment. It's done. But if you cross that line by labeling the court or the judge, that's where the issue comes up. So in the circumstance of this particular matter, the statement is about the judgment, and that's the judgment that we are going to attack on appeal, but not the judges. We cannot do so. We are not permitted to do so, and it will not be done.
I see.
I just want Mr. Tiayebua to clarify for us, what's the end goal in terms of the objectives of the Office of the Attorney General in this case? You said that the financial loss has been established. You've gone to court. They've appealed, and now they've ruled that there's really no case. If you're going to appeal, what is the aim of that appeal? What are you hoping to achieve at the end of another appeal then?
The appeal is meant to question the judgment delivered by the Court of Appeal yesterday. Or to put it in a different way, the appeal is meant to test whether the judgment delivered yesterday by the Court of Appeal can stand the test of legal scrutiny or not. And so in going to the Supreme Court, we are going to argue legally why we think the judgment cannot be supported having regard to the evidence on record. And if the Supreme Court agrees with that, it will mean that the judgment will be set aside and have to come back to the trial court for the matter to continue.
Do you have that hope that the Supreme Court, the apex court, will do that? The Court of Appeal is just a leg beneath the apex court. They are all superior courts, and both sides cited concrete authorities in defending their decision. It's practically the same thing you're going to be putting forth. Do you have any hope?
When it comes to criminal or civil appeals, any appellant will tell you this appeal has a great chance of success. I mean, counsel on this program would just tell you that's what every lawyer will say, that his appeal has a great chance of success. But whether you succeed, it will left to the appellate court to decide. On our side, we think that we left sufficient evidence in the trial court to warrant the trial court calling on the accused persons to open their defense. The Court of Appeal, by 2-1 decision, say no, they disagree with the trial court. And so we are going up, where we have other judges also look at the evidence and come to a conclusion of the matter. If we go to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court comes to a conclusion that our argument is not something that they could buy into and that the Court of Appeal was right, that ends it. And so you go on appeal to canvass legal arguments, but it doesn't mean that you go on appeal automatically you are going to win your case. You can either win or lose. You are minded by that.
And in this instance, I mean, if you lose, then you are triggering your options. You're going to the apex court, which I predicted yesterday. Just a quick ones for you, and then the legal holiday is just around the corner. How do you mean to navigate this? We're practically on the verge of that. 2, there have been calls for the AG not to address the Bar Association meeting. Is he going to comply? And finally, the other ambulance case The other ambulance case that has come up, I'm sure you're fully aware of that. Is the AG's department going to show the same interest in that case like it has shown in this one? So let's start with the legal holiday and how you plan to navigate it.
Yes, it is true that by close of day today, the superior courts in Ghana will be on bigger vacation. But that does not mean that we cannot file our notice of appeal. It will be done in the legal vacation. But as to when the matter will be listed for hearing at the Supreme Court, definitely is going to be after October, either in or after October. So that is the state now. Now, when it comes to the AG addressing the Ghana Bar Association, who determines whether the AG can address or cannot address? I mean, when I hear people making that he cannot address, I mean, it's something that people are just saying state. The AG is the leader of the bar. The AG is expected to address members of the GBA in Kumasi come September. He is going there in September, God willing, to address members of the legal fraternity. And that right is a right that people cannot sit and say you should not go and do it. There's no basis. But that call has no basis. It is only a red herring and nothing else.
I don't think people are saying, I mean, he's head of the bar and he can do what he pleases. But the same way, I guess, Justice Ifiasewa advised him to recuse himself in court, and he went ahead. It's an option for him, but I guess eyes are watching, aren't they? But maybe on the final point.
Who is offering that advice? If, for example, the national executives of the Ghana Bar Association comes out and say they are offering this advice, that's another matter. But if people who have political colors and politicians may want to say, oh, do this and do that, that one, there's no way we have to even give it any form of oxygen. Right. So let's wait for the GBA. You mentioned about the judge. That was a judge. The judge sitting on a matter. But this one, it's not about the GBA, but it's about people who are making pedestrian comments, and they just try to just fly this one in just to muddy the waters. So the AG continues to be the AG of the Republic, and will discharge his duties as the AG of Ghana.
Right. On the final bit about the ambulance.
Ambulance that you said. People should know that the AG doesn't have the power to investigate. And so, if there is any allegation of malfeasance regarding any ambulance procurement, whatever, it is the duty of the investigative bodies in the state to take it up, do the investigations, and when they come up with a docket, that's prosecutable. The AG will go ahead and prosecute the case as we've been doing with other prosecutions.
Well, it's been exciting, unless you have something else.
I'm still not satisfied with
Deputy AG.
I just want to know what would satisfy you in this case? What would be that thing that says, okay, now we've gotten what we want, and so we are letting go of this case? Is it your aim to simply, jail the accused persons in this case, which now is no case? What will satisfy you, Mr. Tuewa?
We just want justice to prevail. Have it that it is not only the minority leader who is being prosecuted in Ghana. Other citizens who also pay their taxes are also undergoing prosecution just like any other person. The discussion should not be that because someone is an MP or is a Minister of State or is an MD or is something, he must be treated differently. We at times appeal against decisions of the court respecting other cases. Let's take like Dr. Opuni. Is he not a Ghanaian? When decisions were taken in his favor at the High Court, the AG appealed against it. So does it mean that because he's not an MP and the minority is an MP and there's a decision that we disagree, we should not appeal?
Right.
Okay, so that's a very good point. In just some 10 seconds, the money involved, you have the option, the plea bargain, to get part of that money back. Now, some are saying you've lost that option. If the Supreme Court affirms the decision of the Court of Appeal, it means you would have lost the option of the money, and you've also not secured the ruling that you wanted. I mean, you accept that now, right? That you've lost on both ends.
We've not lost, we as an office have not lost money because there was no conclusion on that plea bargaining proposal. In actual fact, legally speaking, the proposal that came in did not meet the threshold when it comes to plea bargaining.
Okay.
Honorable Inusah is there. My brother Bob Bamson is there. If you take the plea bargaining act, who should initiate the plea bargaining agreement? It is the accused person. But in this case, the honorable minority leader made it clear that he was not interested in any plea bargain. That was his right.
Okay.
A third party somewhere said we should give him some time to pay. I mean, he wasn't part of this kind of prosecution. And so, being officers of the Justice Ministry, we will not overlook the law and do something unlawful. People to come and say, oh, you decide to just ignore the law and do whatever you wanted to do. So, basically, there wasn't anything like we having the money, we rejected it. No.
Okay. Alfred Tuah, we're incredibly grateful that you took the time to join us this morning. He's a Deputy Attorney General. Let me bring in Bobby Banton. Inusah Fuseini, please bear with me. I'll come to you. Let me bring in Bobby Banton. You have to take leave of us. What is your appreciation of what you've heard from Alfred Tuah in respect of the legal vacation coming up, addressing the bar, and any other final thoughts you may have for us?
I think Senior Tuah has said, he's not said anything strange. They have the right of appeal. The time period for filing appeal will still run. That's why the legal vacation, and I'm sure that they will know what to do. If I were in their shoes, I'm sure they would, with all the experience they have, they will make sure they file the appeal, do the necessary service on the parties, and ensure that the record is prepared during the vacation, so that when we come back in October, they would have been ready for the appeal to be heard. So I expect that perhaps by end of year, there would have been the Supreme Court's decision, or at least we are sure of a date where the Supreme Court will deliver a decision on this. I think it's in the interest of, for me as a student of the law, to know what the Supreme Court would say in respect of the issues that were set down by the Court of Appeal and how the Court of Appeal had rendered it, from the grounds of appeal, striking out some of the grounds. You know, the Court of Appeal did not, or the majority judgment struck down some of the grounds of appeal filed by Mr. Japa. Those are interesting matters, but because the conclusion was that they were acquitted and discharged, nobody is looking at those things. And so I would want to see how that will turn out in the court. Let's keep focus on the issues so that it doesn't draw into personal vendettas. I hope that it doesn't take those things, because when it does, then it is the confidence of the populace in the judiciary that is eroded. And let's see what the court would say in respect of this.
Bobby, final point. This bit about, so moving it, yes, to the apex court and everything that is going to follow from there. What are your expectations? You have said that it will come through from October onwards. Is there any way of facilitating it, fast-tracking it? Are there any means of doing that?
The Constitution gives the Chief Justice the authority to empanel judges, even during vacation. But that would be in extremely important and urgent national issues. I do not see how this case would qualify for the exercise of that discretion by the Chief Justice. I don't think that there will be any attempt by any of the parties to allegedly facilitate this. Then it will feed into the narrative that there is an agenda to ensure that something happens within a certain period. I do not think that it will make any political or legal or whatever sense that you want to put in would justify why the matter should be heard and facilitated during the legal vacation. I think that we should just go through the normal process and then abide time and see what will come out of it.
My last bit, my apologies. Alfred Tuah cited the plea bargaining, laws that we have, and he made mention of the fact that that threshold that had to be met was not met, which is why they did not accept the sum of money, and also mentioning that Dr. Akufo-Addo wanted no part of it. Is that how you see it as well? Could we not have taken that money and still gone on with the process like
one essential condition for a plea bargaining to even commence is for the parties, the accused persons, to plead guilty. If you have not pleaded guilty, there's no way the Attorney General can entertain a plea bargain request or arrangement.
Big C was willing to come up with the money, right?
Yes, but Big C was not an accused person. It's still not an accused person. And that is something that maybe if I meet the Deputy Attorney General, I will ask why there was no attempt to make Big C, or the directors of Big C, because even if you are not resident in Ghana, even if you are not Ghanaian, the Ghanaian court would have jurisdiction to entertain criminal proceedings against you if the act was done in Ghana or involved Ghanaians. I don't have the reason why they've not made Big C, accused persons. But if Big C cannot offer, per the law, plea bargaining on behalf of accused persons, that cannot be the position of the law. So to that extent, I agree that the Attorney General, in line with the law, unless they wanted the approach of just, for example, file nolle prosequi or discontinue or withdraw the proceedings and just take the money and walk. But that would not have been going under the Plea Bargaining Act. But because of the publicity surrounding this issue, if the Attorney General had taken that step, just had an agreement, had the money, some money is recovered, and then just discontinued or enter nolle prosequi, as it were, it would have also raised lots of issues. People would have been, that why have you done this? Is it because of the persons involved? Is it because they are able to pay? So I'm sure the Attorney General considered all of those things before they decided to reject that offer.
I'm sure you're also saying that if you were the AG, you would have taken the option of making Big C an accused person in this. Is that what you're saying?
I don't, if perhaps, it's quite, because I don't have the full facts that they have. I don't know why they have not. Okay. So I don't want to say that it is wrong and all of those. Those are questions that I ask myself. Why is Big C not a party? Maybe they can educate us privately or later. Then we'd see how it goes.
Bobby Banton, we're very grateful for your time. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. Sweetie, shall we bring in Inusah Fuseini for his take as well?
Mr. Fuseini, what is your reaction to first the thoughts shared by the Deputy Attorney General, and then you can add your final bits to it?
Well, so you can see clearly from the thoughts shared by the Attorney General to the Deputy Attorney General that they have some reservations. I mean, on the Deputy Attorney General has some reservations on the statement.
On the ruling, right?
Yeah, really, on the statement issued by the Attorney General's office on the judgment delivered by the Court of Appeal. And that is why they issued explanations in order to clear those reservations. Now, clearly, it is the right of the Attorney General's office to file an appeal against the decision of the Court of Appeal, and they could exercise it without saying so, without attacking the court or attacking the judgment. Now, in the recent history in Britain, and during the Brexit, an Attorney General disagreed with the court's decision in ways similar to what has happened in Ghana recently, in yesterday's case. That called for some form of punishment for the Attorney General of Britain for using those harsh words on the court.
Right.
And so nobody will subscribe to an Attorney General behaving in ways that cannot be said to be decorous. And in this particular case, it appears the Attorney General has gone overboard. I agree with Bobby Banton that in this particular case, the Attorney General's action lends credence to the fact that he's drawing himself, he's putting himself at the center of the case. And people are denied the benefit of getting to understand the merits or the merits of the case. And so the Attorney General should do well to remove himself from the case, not physically, but
Mr. Fuseini, he's saying, if you said that he's speaking through the deputy, then Mr. Tiayebo was just saying that they're looking for justice. And that's why the systems are in place so that you can appeal. So until that justice is served, they're still going to pursue this case. So if you're asking him to remove himself...
So the requirement of justice, or the requirement of the pursuit of justice, must be removed from the requirement of seeking a conviction. So in this particular case, it appears to me that the Attorney General is inadvertently putting a conviction ahead of justice, and that is what is lending credence to the fact that this is political witch hunting. And so, let's see, I agree again that there are many loose ends in the investigation, in the prosecution, in the dealings of the Attorney General with the accused persons. There are so many loose ends that you need to always ask yourself why this step was not taken, why certain things were done. For instance, the ambulance came in long before the prosecution. What did the state do to mitigate what in their view was lost? What did the state do? And so clearly there are problems. And for me, Akufo-Addo is right in the sense that, well, because the accused persons never pleaded guilty, you cannot go on to, the provisions that deal with plea bargain. And so the accused persons, right from the beginning, have thought that they have not been guilty in this particular matter, and the Court of Appeal has vindicated them.
You're also a member of the NDC, so I'm just going to ask, are you ready to go full-blown, with them if they decide to pursue this case further? You're ready to continue in whatever way that they take this case?
As a member of the NDC and as a lawyer, I've had my doubts since the beginning, and I've not hidden my doubts about this case. And when I was reading the judgment, the majority judgment in the court, I was tempted to believe that I was thinking the same way as the lead judgment of the majority. Because there were so many questions left unanswered. And because those questions were not answered, the trial judge was hard put into inferring from the guilt, from the evidence, the guilt of the accused persons, and inviting them to open their defense. That is what the majority decision deprecated. They said, no, you can't infer, you can't speculate, you can't conjecture. There must be clear, cogent evidence of the probable guilt of the accused person to compel you to invite them to open their defense. And in their view, in the view of the majority, there was no such evidence.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Inusah Fuseini. You heard the Inusah Fuseini, who is former MP for Tamale Central and also a member of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee in Parliament. We also spoke to Bobby Banson, a lawyer, and we're also joined by the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Alfred Tuah-Yeboah. But before we go, are you stressed out about all your cleaning needs? Worry no more, because Dance World Services is a one-stop shop that meets all your commercial and residential cleaning needs, from pest control, janitorial and house cleaning, event cleaning, waste management, carpet, sofa, etc. And whether at home or at work, we understand and know how haptic cleaning can be coupled with your busy lifestyle. And we've got great news for you. Dance World Environmental and Facility Management Services has got you covered. And we excel in whatever we do, leaving you beyond expectation. And you can locate us at Excel House, opposite the Reg Manuel Estate in Nungwa Barrier, or simply call on 0302 905538 or 0555 752361. Dance World Services, beyond expectations. Ben.
Well, it's been a conversation, and we're moving on. We're going to be talking about the Affirmative Action Bill. Yay. And that latest development, I know you're very excited about it. I am too.
Okay.
And I'm going to cede to you on that so we tackle it. All of that action.
Feminist, Benjamin. I know you're a feminist.
Yeah, it's just that nowadays the brand of feminism, brands are not also.
You're second wave, not third wave. You know, we had the first wave, second wave, and third wave. When we get to the...
I'm not a Gen Z feminist. I'm a millennial feminist. We'll be right back on the AM show.
Welcome aboard. The feminist Benjamin Akakpo joins us to get into a conversation on the Affirmative Action Bill, which was passed yesterday in Parliament after decades of delays and obstacles. And this bill was initiated in the mid-2000s, Benjamin.
Yes.
And in as much as we are receiving this as great news, we haven't yet crossed the finish line yet. There's still a lot more to be done. But this morning, let's get into the conversation with two former ministers of gender and social protection. We have joining us Akufo-Addo, former Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, as well as Nana Oyebampo-Addo, also a former Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining this conversation this morning.
Thank you, and good morning to you all.
Good morning. Is that Madam Akufo-Addo?
I believe that is...
Both of us.
Okay, great. So, yes, today is a glorious day. I'm sure we are all celebrating. Both of you in that office fought for this bill, and we are here now this morning. How did you first receive the news? Let me start with you, Madam Akufo-Addo. Please unmute for me. The question is, how did you first receive the news yesterday when you heard that Parliament had passed the bill, finally? Are you unmuted? We still cannot hear you. We just heard you a bit a moment ago. So let me try and go to Madam Oyebampo. Maybe we'll try and come back to you later. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Fantastic.
Yes.
So I was asking, how did the news come to you yesterday?
Well, deja vu. It was, I mean, for one moment I stood still and I couldn't believe it. And I just thank God because it's been 12 years. You know, this whole formal process of passing and adopting an affirmative action law in Ghana started in government with Professor Mills when he set up a working group. That was the gender minister then was Honorable Juliana Azuma Nelson. So there was a working group of 21 set up in 2012. And so it's been 12 years. So I was really excited. Yesterday I was really excited. But I'm still in cloud nine, cloud nine.
Right. But what were some of the challenges that you faced in pushing this agenda during your time in office as a Minister for Gender and Social Protection? Yes, there was a key legal hurdle that we had to overcome. Number one was the fact that the need to pass an affirmative action bill or law, notwithstanding the fact that it was entrenched in our constitution, became the subject matter of litigation at the Supreme Court. If you recall, an action was filed by, I think, the now CDD director, I'm not too sure, on the white paper that had been issued by Professor Mills after the constitutional review process. And so that Supreme Court action halted implementation of the constitutional review recommendations. And so it affected the affirmative action bill that was being processed, that was going through cabinet and also going through parliament. So we had to make a strong legal case that notwithstanding that Supreme Court case, in the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, there was a clear provision that Parliament was under a legal obligation to pass an affirmative action bill, and we were relying on that. So we were able to surmount that. So that was the key challenge that we had, and that was why it was delayed and it couldn't be passed in 2016. All right, please hold for me. Let me try again if I can connect with Akufo-Addo. Madam, can you hear me? Okay, I think we are having a bit of challenge with that. But let me come back to you, Nana Oye. So now that the bill has been passed by Parliament, what does this mean for us against the fight or in the fight for women representation in Parliament and decision-making, as well as, you know, gender equality fight? What does this mean for us?
It is groundbreaking. When you read the bill, I know it will be updated because some amendments were proposed, but its key objective is to ensure gender equality. It has created a gender equality committee that will see through implementation. It has clearly settled or given roles to the different sectors. So the public service, it is very clear what their obligation is. The security services, the judiciary, even private sector is included, and the trade unions. So we have clear roles and functions. And then in Schedule 1 of the bill, we have the quota, the quota system. So we know that in 2 years' time, from now to 2026, the minimum representation of women will be 30%. Then for the next 2 years, up to 2028, it will be 35% minimum representation. Then by 2030 in Ghana, 50% of all positions, all recruitment, filling of vacancies, 50% representation of women across. Wow. And I believe that is very good. And there are some incentives for private sector. The public service have a key role to play. Even political parties are also included. My disappointment is I don't see any clear provision on seats that are reserved for women in parliament. This was also something that we were fighting for, that certain seats should be reserved for women, but I don't see that in the bill that I'm reading now. Right. And so I think that is my disappointment, but I'm happy the way functions have been outlined, especially for the independent constitutional bodies, their roles. Electoral Commission has a role to play. Public service has a role to play. And the percentages have been clearly outlined. And every year, each of these sectors have to submit a report to the Gender Equality Committee and the Department of Gender. And if you do not comply, there's even a fine that you have to pay. So I'm really happy about that. If we are able to implement, I'm sure we'll go far as gender equality is concerned and adequate representation of women across the political, social, educational, cultural, and other sectors of the society. Okay.
Now, a quick interjection or a quick intervention. There are those, and I'm playing the devil's advocate here. I know what pertains in Ethiopia and other places, but there are those who say, okay, so you say 30% for those in parliament or something of the sort. What if those spaces are indeed taken by the women, and then the slots that, are free for all, most of them go to women as well? Some feel that could be problematic. I'm just putting that to you. Do you feel that could create any friction as far as pushing this bill forward or this law forward is concerned? What's your take?
Thank you very much. When you analyze the data, you would realize that representation of women is low. Look at the district assemblies, even with the recent district assembly elections, is way under 10%. You look at parliament, is also low. So what we're saying is that we will not get to that. We are just trying to achieve the minimum of 30% as prescribed by the United Nations. So I do not believe you'll get a situation where we will have the quota slots, the affirmative action slots of women filled, and then you would also have more, women in the normal. We need to rise up to ensure that we have that minimum and that we see more women. And sometimes for one reason or the other, education, social, cultural, we are not able to get that representation. And that's why we fought and strived for this law to be passed by Parliament to ensure that women are adequately, equitably represented across the sectors, especially the judiciary and also security services and public service. And over the years, our various presidents have appointed women to key positions. And we can all attest to the fact that women have really endeared themselves and worked hard. And so now Ghanaians can see that when you put a woman in a position of trust, she will deliver. And I'm happy Parliament has finally unanimously passed this bill.
Okay, please hold for me. Let me try Otiko one more time, see if we can connect with her. Can you hear me now, Madam Otiko Jaba? Kindly unmute if you can hear me. Okay.
It appears we're still having challenges.
That challenge, yeah. But
just a sec. I don't know. Otiko, was that Otiko Afisa Jaba? Okay, I heard someone. I thought it's really sad that
we can't connect with her. We'll keep
with
trying if we're able to. But something you said about not just representation, and really, it's not just about representation. I was speaking to the Information Minister a couple of days ago, and she said that elections are not cheap. So it's not just about, allocating seats to women in Parliament. It's about equipping them so they can actually afford to run these elections and win seats in Parliament. How does that sit with you?
Yeah, when you read the bill, there are clear stipulations on that. And Electoral Commission is given that role. And there are clear stipulations even for political parties. So political parties have also been given a role. And the law is even prescribing that political parties include this in their manifestos and in their political party constitution. That in the manifestos and in the constitution, there should be a progressive, there should be appointment of women to serve in key leadership positions. And political parties are also asked to submit annual reports, annual gender equality reports. And this will be published in our gazette, in our government gazette. So you can see that, like I said, there are clear roles. And if we're able to do all this, we will actually we will actually see more women in positions of power and in positions of responsibility across. And for me, that is the beauty of this. For trade unions and the public sector, there are tax incentives that are granted to employers who comply with the Act. And I think this will act as a carrot for employers to employ more women, irrespective of the fact that they get pregnant and have to go on maternity leave. That sometimes acts as a barrier for employment of women, especially in the private sector.
Okay, I'm still going to ask you to hold. Let me try Otiko one last time. Can you hear me, Otiko?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. It's great to connect with you. So first, apologies for
the devil is a liar.
Indeed, we are going to have this conversation. Tell me how you received the news yesterday, and then we'll talk about the nitty-gritty of the bill and how confident you are. But first, how did you feel yesterday getting news that Parliament had passed this bill finally?
This is a game changer. I felt elated. It was like a birthday. Something that, when you are pregnant and you are waiting for a baby.
Yeah.
You've been waiting forever. And finally, it has been passed. And I just want to thank God and all the people. Hello, Madam Oye.
Hi, Otiko. How are you doing? Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congrats.
There's a song I want them to play for us. Defe.
Hey, okay.
Whatever it is that God has for us.
Okay.
It has indeed come in. So when we finish, please play Defe for us.
We will.
We are so happy. And, it is about Ghana. It's not only about women. Anything that is good for women is good for the nation. Because the development of a woman is directly linked to the development of the nation. So this is a big precedent. It's historic. We are living it, others are writing about it, and others will come and read about us. It's fantastic. Thank you so much to Parliament and everybody who has had a hand in bringing this day and making it possible.
Okay, I don't mean to cut your joy short, but how confident are you that now that we've reached I can describe it as the 11th hour process of the bill, that the President will assent and turn this into a law as quickly as possible? This isn't the first bill that Parliament has passed that's stalling at that level. How confident are you?
I am more than confident. He is a gender activist. He was an ambassador for gender. And look, women are close to 52% of our population. No affirmative action assent, no vote from the women. We are going to put the screws on.
Okay.
This thing must become a reality. We are not going to dilly-dally about it. It has been at a snail's pace. And if it has happened under his watch, he has no other reason but to just give the assent. He doesn't have a choice. It is something, he himself has 5 daughters. It is important for him to be recognized that since the history of Ghana, we've been trying to bring this law into being. And finally, under his governance, it is coming to be. Why wouldn't he? He has no other reason but to just put the assent now, not yesterday, but now.
Well, it did take us a while to get here. So I want to hear, for you to also share your experience. What are the challenges that, inhibited the speedy, processes of arriving at this point now? What are some of the challenges that you faced in your time in office as the Minister for Gender?
Yes, thank you very much. We set up a technical committee and we worked hard on it and took it to cabinet, because we had come in as a new government and you have to re-look at it from where the NDC and Madam Oye had started. They also took it to cabinet, but they were not able to pass it before they left office. So we came and then we had to review it and include other things that we felt were necessary, like a quota system. And we found out that after several workshops with members of parliament and others, that they felt like things like the quota system should be taken out. And I've seen that it has indeed been taken out. They wanted to water it down. And that was a big challenge for us. And the speaker then, Honorable Michael Quay Sr., he was very adamant about the fact that, look, there is no point in being a dog that barks without being able to bite.
Right.
And so when you water it down, that is not respectful to women. We have been fighting for men all our lives. We have been the pillar of the development of this nation. But when it comes to issues of women, they always want to push it to the back and then water it down. And so that was my biggest challenge, the fact that they watered it down. And I'm still unhappy that it has been watered down. Issues of women are national issues that must be looked at in the entirety of the development of our nation. If you're going to build a nation that holds women back, that talks about progressive increment and having parity in the next 6 years, how about all the women who have died and who have not benefited from this act? It is important that we realize that other countries have done it, and they have been able to increase the representation of women at all levels because of the affirmative action and giving it a bite. So they should not frustrate us with this issue of progressive increment. In the next 6 years, all the things that they have said in this current act, are they sure that they will be able to implement them to ensure that we are at parity? In Parliament, we are just at, 40 women in Parliament. At the District Assembly election, we are less than 6%. The next election is in 4 years. And then after that,
4 months?
Be the 2030. Sorry? Well, the next, after 2024 election,
okay, great.
We'll be going for elections again in 2028. So many women lost their seats in Parliament. Even when we have the general election, it's likely that others will also lose their seats. So when you don't put in things like the quotas, then you are saying that for the 4 years from 2024 to 2028, we are going to have fewer women in Parliament, and I'm sure it will be the same at the District Assembly. And then from 2028, you just have 2 years to 2030. It does not make sense. It is not possible to accomplish parity when you have only 40 women who are even reduced. This is absurd, and it's unacceptable in Ghana today when we have all these democratic credentials, being the Black Star, the first this and that. And yet, when it comes to women's issues, we are not able to put our mouths to where the money where the mouth is and ensure that action is taken immediately, not progressively.
But so now this has come to solve all that. Let's talk about the impact this has, not just in politics and decision-making institutions, but on little girls and young women who are now coming up. And this is also coming, I'm particularly excited because it's coming at a time where a woman is possibly going to run for the office of president in America and else, and that's big, So how does this impact the lives of young women? Still on the issue of gender equality and women empowerment. How does this bill pass now impact on a larger scale the lives of younger girls watching us now?
The impact will come depending on the enforcement. The Gender Equality Committee that's going to be set, the monitoring structures and procedures that will be put in place to ensure that after the bill is passed, the enforcement goes on. It's not enough to pass a bill when it is not enforced. Ghana has so many laws, and yet the enforcement is so weak. It is important that we are able to see 40 to 50% women being elected at decision-making positions and being appointed. We must see at the educational establishments that there is parity. I know that when it comes to tertiary, the girls are going forward now. But at the basic, it is still not so good, and the senior high school level.
In fact, yesterday, sorry to interject, yesterday the education minister was saying that they've actually achieved gender parity in senior high schools, and that as we speak, it's a 50-50 representation. And that's what he said yesterday in his address. There was a program on the state of education in Ghana, and he put that data out.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
All right. That's a new information. So we now have to look at the basic to ensure that we bring them up to speed.
Right.
In terms of employment, we must be sure that there is no discrimination. When a woman is pregnant, it should not affect her promotion, and she should not be subjected to sexual harassment because she needs to be promoted. There must be equity and respect when it comes to financing, like the school feeding. The budget, you talk about gender-responsive budgets. What has happened to the school feeding? They must look at it and ensure that issues concerning women must be well financed so that the poverty in women will change. You cannot alleviate poverty in the nation when the women are at the lowest in terms of the pyramid of poverty. It is also critical that at the political level, the political parties, you see that the chairman is a man. The organizer is a man. It's usually only the women's organizer or treasurer or sometimes secretary that is a woman. That is also unacceptable. We need to ensure that the political parties are bringing up the women to also be chairmen. If you are not part of the decision-making policy, then it is difficult for your voice to be well heard. And it starts from that level, from even the household. Parents must also realize that girls can be leaders. It's not good enough to say that the girl should be cooking, she should be playing ampe, and the boys are going around with computers.
Please hold for me.
Girls are subjected, just a minute, and girls are subjected to early child marriage and then being raped and all sorts of things that reduce their dignity and reduce their advancement. The time has come for the people of Ghana, the parents, to stop subjecting girls to these ridiculous old and archaic policies and traditions that hold us back. No girl can wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Nanoye, your take now. First, how confident are you that now that we've reached this level in this process, the president will assent to this bill and make it a law as quickly as possible? And how do we ensure that the target goals we hope to achieve with this bill, which is gender equality, women empowerment, equal representation, are actually achieved?
Yes, the young girl in Ghana can now dream and see her dream become a reality. For the next generation, this law is going to ensure that we have more women in decision-making positions, more women in government, more women in security, more women in the judiciary, and that is the reality of the dream of every young girl in Ghana. In terms of ensuring that this is implemented, when you assess the monitoring mechanisms in the bill, if we are able to cross every T and dot every I in terms of monitoring, as per the clauses, we will get there. And I am sure the civil society groups, the NGOs that have pushed this and advocated will still be there to help. And my congratulations to Sheila Minka Premo, Benedicta and Cynthia, who worked with me to draft the first bill. So monitoring by and support and partnership by civil society, as they have done during the legislative making process, will also be, very, very critical and important. And we're hoping that the sectors will submit their gender equality reports and Parliament will still play its role. So yes, the future is bright for women. This is historic. We congratulate Parliament, we congratulate government for this major historic feat, and all the men and women who stood up and supported this process over 12 years, over 15 years, the Women's Manifesto, and everybody else. Congratulations. The future is bright for women in Ghana.
Congratulations,
we're grateful
Ben.
for that.
Indeed, congratulations are in order, but the work only just begins.
Okay.
Yes.
I am sure Nanoye Bampo-Addo and Otiko Afisa Jaba will attest to the fact that this is just the beginning, and more work has to be done on multiple facets. But I would also say that even as we have this, what is happening in most organizations, apart from the public space, even private enterprise and all of that. How many female CEOs do we have? How many women are in core leadership? We've done well from the days of Theodora Wood becoming Chief Justice, even to the days of, her name just escapes me, she was Speaker of Parliament at a point.
Georgina Wood?
No. I'm talking of Speaker of Parliament. The name, I don't know why it just escapes me. But
Joyce Bamford-Addo.
Joyce Bamford-Addo.
Right Honorable.
Yes, the Right Honorable Joyce Bamford-Addo. We have done well. What I want to see is more of such action in the private enterprise as well. How many women are out there allowed to even rise to a certain position, breaking the glass ceiling? And in the executive, we've done it in the judiciary and the legislature. We've even done it at the Ghana Police Service. There was an acting IGP as well, same. But the executive, Kamala Harris is going in the US. Are we going to break that glass ceiling? And I'm not necessarily saying that NDC because they have a female, but when do we get to that point where women are also seen to be capable? And I say that it trickles down. There was a group when I was in the University of Ghana for my undergrad. I had to literally struggle because I checked the records and realized I was an outgoing president of that group. And I realized it appeared there had practically never been a female who had been president, or it had been so long. I personally pushed for it. This person didn't even want to go. And that's one of our problems because they feel, oh, it's a man's. So when do we get to that point where we have more women taking up such roles? That's all I'll add to the...
Okay. I'll take your final words and then we can wrap up on the conversation. Starting with you, Nanoye.
Yes, thank you very much also to the media for pushing this, for supporting this process. And to all of Ghana, this is a reality. Women are on the stage and we promise to deliver as we always have done since independence of this country. Let's all support implementation of the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Act 2024. We're urging President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo to assent to this bill so that it becomes law, so that the implementation processes start. Let's all support this. Ghana wins. Ghana wins. Congratulations. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Otiko Jaba, you have the final word now.
I just want to thank God for this day. It is optimistic, and I hope that definitely every girl child would benefit from this, and that we will become the game changers, the decision makers. We must be a part of it. The president has no choice but to assent to this bill. The women and the men of Ghana must work together because women's issues are national issues. Women's issues are the family issues, the societal issues. Everything that you talk about in terms of development, a woman must be a part of it.
Right.
We are living history, and we must ensure that as change agents, all of us collectively, including the media, the queen mothers, the traditional rulers, the society, the civil service organization, civil society organizations, the government, the ministers, everybody. This is about all of us.
Okay.
And for Ghana to be developed, we must enforce the Affirmative Action Bill, all the components of it, so that the woman can be just like Eve, a partner, a correct and strong and confident partner. Together, we will make Ghana greater and stronger. It's not only about America. We in Ghana, we are the Black Star. And we women are ready to fight for what we have to do to make this country greater and stronger for all of us to live in. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You heard the Otiko Afisa-Jaba, former Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, as well as Nana Akufo-Addo, also former Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. But before we go, a gentle reminder that your favorite podcast show, Bus Stop Diaries, now airs every Saturday at 4 p.m. on Joy News Channel. You can also watch and listen to all our podcasts or all episodes of the podcast on YouTube on our Joy News Channel, myjoyonline.com, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So grab a chilled drink and join us for another exciting journey filled with trending buzz.
Well, let me also tell you about the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, popularly known as Drapa Dubai. You have seen the rest, and now is the time to actually see the best. Take a break from work, take a break from the south. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai, is that place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. It's away from the stress of the south. Yeah, Accra and the rest of the south can be stressful. But this is what awaits you, an unforgettable safari experience. And of course, we're talking about that amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamuses, zebras, ostriches, among many others, using that spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or quad bikes. 2, water sports such as jet skiing, boat or canoe rides, and more. 3, various family games to keep you and your families excited every day. And there's still more. You also get to benefit or witness the great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves, and many more. So escape from the south, escape to the north, escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai as we call it, for an unforgettable safari experience. Just call 0501 694 280 or 0248 844 463 for reservations or further inquiries now. We should make some time to go to Drapa Dubai, right?
Yes, will you take
Drapa
me?
Dubai on the radar. Bucket list.
Okay.
We take a break. We'll be back with more action. Do stay.
Welcome back. You're still watching the AM show. Now let's talk about the Kids Patriots Club Ghana. The studio with me this morning is Eleonora Portia Bafuije, aka Mama Posh, and she's the founder and president of the Kids Patriots Club Ghana. Welcome to the program, Eleonora.
Thank you very much.
So tell me briefly about the Kids Patriots Club Ghana. What do you do?
Well, so the Kid Patriots Club Ghana, it's our kids NGO. It's a club. We are trying to put together a number of children to groom, to raise, to prepare to become patriotic citizens. And we are not talking about political citizens. We are talking about children who will grow to love Ghana and then love to become Ghanaians wherever they find themselves in this world.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this?
This has been since 2018. We realized that, well, so the world is evolving.
Yeah.
And it is doing so with our culture, our traditions, and all that come with it. And let me start on this premise. If you've ever been to Dubai and then you visited the Frame, you stand in one building. On one side, you see what they call the old Dubai. And on the other side, you see the new Dubai. What they have tried to do is not to jettison their culture, their old or their past.
Yes.
They are fusing two together. The past gives an idea of what they were, and then the future tells them where they want to be.
Okay. And that's what you're doing?
That's what we are trying to do, because for us, it's, I think we are running too fast with the evolution, and our culture is running too fast as well. So we are throwing our past too quickly behind us, and that is quite dangerous.
And so you want to change the narrative.
Exactly.
And you have an annual flagship program called Kids Discovering Ghana. And this year, it's coming up again. Tell me a bit about that.
So the Kids Discovering Ghana, it's where we gather physically in person with children. So this is the time we say, okay, can we once in a while put our gadgets aside and then stop focusing on the people who are far away from us, but then get closer to people, real people, play with them, chat with them, form networks that will last forever. And so at Kids Discovering Ghana, as the name says, we are discovering Ghana. We are helping our children do so because they are lost. We are helping them discover the foods that are Ghanaian that we used to eat. They are tasting and they are drinking, discovering themselves in the clothes that they wear. We are discovering the Ghanaian identity in our culture and cultural heritage and
like the music, the dances,
the music,
the games we used to play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a whole lot of package, a big package that children indulge themselves in, playing, eating, dancing, trying their hands on drums and all that is beautiful. So this is what we are doing on Saturday, the 3rd of August. And this year, we are adding on more things. What are we doing? Last year, we introduced the language zone because we realized that one of the things going extinct is our language. Our children can't speak anything.
And it's a flex to them that they can. I come from Agbos, but I don't speak the Ewe. I'm like, girl.
It's pathetic.
Yeah.
It's pathetic because we can't thrive with that. You know, we will never lose our identity if we stick to our languages. And wherever we find ourselves in this world, we are who we are. And people know who we are. Sometimes we try to identify and then align with people in their culture, but it never takes away who we are from us.
And I mean, you are not, it's not just the children these days, it's us as adults. The influx of Western culture has just completely eradicated who we are, the core, you know, in terms of what our interests are, how we appear, how we dress. Look at you, anyway. So tell me about where you're having this event, who's invited, if there are tickets to be bought, and what time the program actually starts.
Okay, so 3rd August Saturday, the time is from 10 a.m. prompt because it's so much to do that we can't afford to start late. And we are ending at 4 p.m.
Okay, so 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
And we are selling tickets for 40 cedis.
Oh, just 40 cedis?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that 40 cedis, we are an NGO, we are a charity. Just 40 cedis is only to cater for the lunch for the children who will be there.
Okay.
So they play, they sweat, we give them water, we give them drink, and we give them food to eat. Accompanying adults enter for free. However, we don't give them lunch as the children. So they purchase their lunch from our vendors, our food vendors.
Okay.
And there are lots of activities, bead making, so the children get to make their beads and take away with them. We have the...
Are you going to do the beads from, we used to do something called papier mâché. You use papers, we soak them and pound it, and then we form tiny circles, and then we string them.
I get what you mean.
You get what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I used to love doing that as a child with my siblings.
You should come and teach them how to do that.
I'll take you up on that off IB. Right.
Yeah.
What will be your final words? I mean, you want adults to attend as well and bring their children. So, you know, let me give you a minute to speak directly to our viewers and invite them to come with you on Saturday.
So, viewers, you've heard about it, the Kids Discovering Ghana. It's a wonderful event. It is for the children, but it's also an opportunity for family bonding time. So as adults, you come along with your child and you play Ludo together. You play Owari together. Teach your child how to do the Bonframa, how to do the kite, how to do the Tumatu, and join them. Play Ampe with them. Play Dummy with them. This is beautiful moment of family bonding, of creating networking. It is it's something you can't miss, and you would regret if you are not there. So please get your tickets ready by dialing *713*33*24#. I'll go over that.
Okay.
*713*33*24#. Or you can call us directly if you're having challenges on 0200 397 280.
When you said ampe, it brought back so many memories. Do children still play ampe? I don't remember the last time I saw anyone.
Yeah, I think a minority of them do that.
Okay.
But it's beautiful when the children come. You know, sometimes we have them come and say, no, this I don't know, I haven't seen it before. And then at the end of the event, parents are going around looking for them because they don't even want to go back home.
Yeah.
They've identified new things, they've found new friends and learned new games, eaten new foods, and done excellently amazing things. So
Eleonora,
don't miss this.
congratulations.
Thank
you for trying to remind the young ones that there was a Ghana that used to be beautiful, used to make us feel proud, and we can still go back to that without necessarily moving away from civilization and modernization. Eleonora Posha Bafwe-J, aka Mama Posh, and she's founder and president of the Kids Patriots Club Ghana. Thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there's still a lot coming your way on the AM show. We'll be right back. Thank you. We're back on your screens. It's the Ben and Sweetie show, and it's time for us to interact with you, Kojo, Ama, Ajo. And so you can call us. The phone lines are on your screens, and it can be on anything that we've discussed today so far, whatever is happening in your community. Just share your thoughts with us. And Benjamin, there was something that I kept thinking about during our conversation on the Affirmative Action Bill now passed. It's not that men intentionally push women out or intentionally want to lead. It's that over the years, they haven't had that women haven't had that equal opportunity. So it's not normal for men to think that, oh, it's okay if a woman is doing it too, or if the woman is here with me, then okay, we are just doing it. It's not normal like that in their minds. They're just used to it. So what this bill does, is to set the system in place. So in the next decade or two, it becomes normal. So it's like agenda setting, you know, so that boys don't feel weird when when a girl is competing with him in a competition in science and math. So that in terms of even on TV, there are certain things in the media space, there are certain interviews, there are certain conversations that are sort of left to the men to have because, you know what I'm talking about. But it's not because the men are intentionally doing it. It's just that's what has been the norm.
What the script has been. Right?
That's it. And so we are just trying to change the status quo by creating the opportunity for women to also, right now we need a push until it becomes normal so that nobody wakes up and think, why isn't there a woman here?
This kind of thing is generational, like you've rightly pointed out. Just as in Singapore, it was generational to start, you can't spit in public and all of that, you'll get arrested. It was a mindset change thing. There needed to be a paradigm shift. I remember when this was applied to our schools, to ensure that there were more females getting enrolled in the tertiary institutions, among others. It has worked wonders. In some institutions, you have more females than even males currently. But I also feel, and I must say this, that sometimes women are the very impediments to women taking position. Or just yesterday.
Some women.
In some women, you're right. Prominent institution, I don't want to mention it. A woman is at the head or the helm of affairs. First time. There are other women in the circle who are aspiring to do great things, but they are all being by a woman. So, and I've seen this far too many times. It's good. Men, as far as I know, those I interact with, there's no particular agenda about. And one thing, you come, you deliver. Men, no matter what their mindsets may be, archaic or otherwise, will fall in line. But I feel sometimes a man kasa more how.
So now that we have the systems in place, you see gradually the narrative will change. But we have our first caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Oh, that's not a good sound to hear. Do we have our...
We apologize. Do call back. Call that number again, 0302-211-691. 0302-211-691. Please call back. Let's hear from you. And for the others, we've discussed a number of things today. From the acquittal, discharge of Dr. Kasiel Atto-Forson, Richard Jakpa, to the bit about the Affirmative Action Bill and more. What is your take? Call and let us know.
So yes, now that we have set the ball in motion, I'm not just excited, but I'm relieved that the burden is not only on women now to push that agenda. It's now on all of us, you know, because it's a bill. Hopefully, it's passed as soon as possible so that, you know, just like some other bills that we've seen that are sitting, waiting for the president's signature, this one doesn't become one of them. But both former ministers sound optimistic that this particular one, and I know you call the president's agenda advocate, so I'm hoping that we'll get there as soon as possible, Benjamin Akakbo.
Well, we do hope so, definitely. We do hope so. We await your calls. Do call and share your thoughts with us. 0302-211-691. 0302-211-691. What is on your mind? Call. Let us know what your reflections are. We have a caller on the line. Dan is on the line. Sweetie, would you like to take Dan?
Hi, Dan. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Share your thoughts with us.
Oh, thanks. Good morning to you and good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners. I'm reaching you from Kechmani, the Bunu East region.
Okay.
I think it is nice to hear that Atto-Forson and Jakpa has been discharged. But the question I want to ask, the money that were being proposed to be paid, that the Attorney General said no, the prosecution must go on. Now that they have been discharged, will the Attorney General be charged for causing financial loss to the state? That is what I want to know. And the second point is that the affirmative action is a nice program and it's a nice bill that has been passed. But here is the key. Women get up and say they want to support their own in Ghana. Now, Vice President to be a woman. Once she was appointed, what were the comments by women against her? So women are, to me, women are not only being seen as people that they are not given the opportunity to lead, but women are the people that jealous and criticize their own any time at all that there's any appointment.
But Dan, this isn't just a woman thing. This is a human being thing. It's a personality thing. There are men who are also, you know, plotting and envious about other men. So it's not a woman thing. In the same way, in the political dispensation of this country, men say all manner of things about their fellow men politicians when it comes to propaganda in terms of trying to win favor in the public eye. So I just take exception to making it a woman thing. It's not a woman thing. It's a human being thing.
I agree with you. As we are in a developing country, as I agree with you. I agree with you.
Thank you so much, Dan. Mr. Akakbo, well, I was going to ask you, what do you make of those comments, but we have to go. But maybe 30 seconds. I mean,
both of you have, you're in the right in different ways. All I will say is that there's a lot more work to be done on different levels for us to be able to actualize this. Do you know where the most work is?
Tell me. It's an inside job. And that's our show for today. The last day of the month of July, actually. I hope your month has been fruitful and productive. We'll catch you again tomorrow at 6 a.m. on the dot. Joy News Desk is up next with Faustina Safo.